What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. And as you guys can hear, we're already getting started a little early here, man. Shout out to everybody in chat watching this live. Appreciate every single one of you guys, man. The last few shows have been kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on with the algorithm, but retweeting the show, you know what I mean? That definitely helps. But we'll dig in all of that a little bit later. But I appreciate everybody that comes out, helps out, you know what I mean, retweets, shows love. Appreciate you guys so much, man. But thank you guys for all coming out, hanging out with us. As you guys can see, we're down one amigo right now, but he will be coming in hot. Shout out to Fuzz. He is on another show right now. Shout out to that podcast as well, doing great work over there. But let's go ahead and just get around the panel here. We'll start with our guest, man, Mr. Steel Rain. I threw up the bat signal late last minute, but you came sliding in. You know what I mean? The home plate. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Hey, man, I appreciate you sending the invite through. It's always a great time to be on here chopping it up with some real homies, you know what I mean? And I was gonna get into some Dragon's Dogma. I got about 80 hours in the game, haven't even beat it yet. I don't even know if I'm halfway yet. I just been adventuring and having my time. I saw somebody talking about it earlier. And the best way that I can describe Dragon's Dogma, it's probably the most alive game or alive feeling game that I've played in quite some time. So big up to Dragon's Dogma. Much love to that. League's better than what we got in the first game, I think, from my experience. So shout out to that. But other than that, man, I've just been doing some research, man. Sometimes, I get on my Sherlock Holmes and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, man, because I put it to you like this. The biggest thing for me is I just want proper community representation, and support the people that you support truly.
Yeah.
And and just hopefully everybody else can kind of see through some of the foolishness and stuff like that. So, outside of that, nothing but love. Much love to you, PTK, again for asking me to be on, and again being on my brother from another. After 5 hours this morning, so it's always a good time.
You already know how I go, man. We got to bring it back, man. This is part 2. Sometimes this turns into FSP 2.0 or Living Split Screen 2.0. So, or we get a mix depending on who's on that week. So, shout out to you still for always being available, bro. I appreciate you, man. You've come through the last minute so many times for your boys. So, thank you. You guys go follow Steel. I'll make sure I edit all his information in the description below after the show. But you guys, if you don't know, please go follow Steel, Living Split Screen. They got goals to hit over there, growing super fast. Always put on a great show, man. But I got both of them here. So, if you missed it, you're going to get a second dose here tonight. So, shout out to you, Steel. Appreciate you coming through, man. And my brother, Mr. Pong. So, how you been, bro? How you feeling?
Hey, doing good, PTK. Hey, listen, you got problems with the algorithm. It looks like Steel's got a link for you. Don't worry about it.
I got a link for a cool $31. I can get you 1K for a cool 31. It's on sale.
Steel can solve all your problems, man. Come on.
I can't. I got the link. I can send it. It's official. They're heartfelt followers, PTK.
It's accepted. It's accepted in this community. Anyways, listen.
For a cool $9.99 a month. I'm go ahead.
$31. I can get you a cool 1K, PTK.
No. We not.
For 35, they'll keep the sub numbers uneven so it doesn't look fishy.
Stop.
So, anyways, let's see.
Oh
here.
No, it's even better. We'll make it even, so it's not. So it can be fishy. It's okay.
Oh my God, man!
Oh yeah.
Unsponsored podcast, by the way, people. There's no sponsorship.
Oh, I haven't said the name out there yet. Don't worry. I can send the link. Put it in the chat.
Listen, y'all. It's great to be here, PTK. We're just trying to help you out, brother. Steel's always trying to help people out. It's great to be back on the Shop Podcast, the end of the Saturday night here. This is the best way to do it. Obviously, like Steel said, him and I went for 5 hours this morning, like a flash in the pan, man. We didn't even know how it happened, but we did it. But we spent the first hour talking Dragon's Dogma 2, over an hour talking Dragon's Dogma 2. That's what I've been playing. I haven't been able to play the past couple nights. Past couple days have been busy, but I'll be back on it tonight before Easter tomorrow with the family. But Dragon's Dogma 2 has been a black hole for me. It's one of those games.
I love it, man.
It's one of those games, man. I don't have 80 hours like Steel does. I got about 50. I got a little over 50. A lot of time spent in photo mode. Obviously, if you guys are following me on Twitter, X formerly known as Twitter, you've seen my screenshots. The photo mode is not easy. It's there, which is a great thing, but it is one of my criticisms for Capcom, for the Dragon's Dogma 2 team. Just a little bit more effort on that photo mode, just a little bit more. Like I've missed some crazy good shots, but I'm working with it, and I've gotten some that some of the best shots I've ever taken in video games. This game is gorgeous. We had some people this morning in our chat, saying that they didn't think the game was gorgeous or even photo mode worthy. I disagree wholeheartedly. This game definitely, sure. Is there some areas that are plain? It's a style,
approach.
Though.
Yeah, that's a style thing.
Yeah, and it's always going to be. Art is subjective, right? But the RE engine, man, especially on the PC, and again, I'm having a different experience than the people on consoles. So again, I will say that, I'm brute forcing 4K with ray tracing right now, right, at 60 frames. So I'm brute forcing it. But man, oh man, is this game gorgeous. It is detailed. This world, like Steel said, is alive. It feels alive moment to moment. There is very little downtime ever in this game, unless you were trying to hunt down a treasure box and you've cleared out all the enemies in a certain area. There is little downtime, and there is actually, Mav and I were talking about in PM to PM. There are games that certainly have set pieces and boss battles that are tense, but there are very few games that just in a common kind of area, running into a group of goblins, maybe mixed in with some skeletons or whatever the case may be in the nighttime. When you are low on health because you have not found a campsite in a while and you've been battling it out, leveling up, and you are low on health, and remember, there is permanent loss on your health bar until you camp or until you sleep at an inn during the game. So it's got a little extra difficulty to it, little souls to it a little bit. When you're in the nighttime and you're in an unknown area and you don't have any campfires on your map that are close by and your team's struggling, let me tell you, those little common enemies become a problem. And those moments of just trying to find a campsite can be some of the most intense moments in this game. And very few games give you that. It is a very, very special RPG. They kept everything that I loved from the first one, and like Steel said, just made it better and better. That Eastern type of perspective of a Western high fantasy RPG creates a very unique experience. Yeah. Yes, absolutely, 1000%. It's got, again, remember, folks, there's parts of the Monster Hunter team that work on this game. There's some Monster Hunter to this game too.
You can definitely see that.
And that again adds something that we don't get out of like a Skyrim, right? It's different. And so again, if you're on the fence, I've been telling everybody this. It's not going to be a game for everybody. Steel mentioned this morning. He mentioned it on X as well, that some people are finding out that this isn't a game for them. It's not what they thought it was going to be, which is fine. Not every game is going to be for everybody, but I'm just saying, if you're into open world RPGs and you like high fantasy and you want a living, breathing world that feels like you are actually in a book moment to moment, having battles and exploring and finding new things, you will find value in this game. Do not be on the fence. They just threw out the patch. It came out to PS5, came out to PC. It will be coming to Xbox, PTK, and we're talking back and around. It should be next week. It's going through certification process. There's always a couple days delay for the certification process over at Xbox, but they already said it's done. It's in. But this patch will allow you to create a new save file for a new game. So they are adding something that they did say that they were going to do. They have what?
I was going to say that created, because when you say like that, it makes it seem like you could have multiple save files.
No.
You could overwrite your current save file.
You can do it without going through and deleting the cloud save and all that kind of shit.
Misunderstanding.
Yeah, there's so misunderstanding. But I'm just saying they're making it easier than what it was. Right. All right. Okay. Which is something they promised to do. They are fixing a bunch of the performance issues. We'll see how much that helps on console. Obviously, we'll see what they fix there.
Letting you toggle certain things off.
Yes,
and on,
ray tracing. Ray tracing is a big one. So your frame rates will go up. This patch does not include the 30 frames locked mode yet. That will be in another patch, it sounds like. They are working on that. But so if you're thinking about jumping in this game, if you're kind of finishing up a couple other games and you want something new and you've seen everybody talking about Dragon's Dogma 2, I would highly suggest go pick this up. This is my game of the year 2024, and I don't see anything right now beating it. There might be some things that are in the conversation for sure, but I just don't see anything coming along that makes this big of an impression on me like Dragon's Dogma 2 has. This is a special game. We don't get these all the time. We've gotten a lot, but Mav said this too on PM to PM, which I thought was pretty he brought it up. He goes, over the past year or 2 years, is this the best run of RPGs we've had?
I was gonna say that, bro. I was already going there anyway. I was gonna say probably over the last 2 years or so. It absolutely, and I mean, if I wish I could name them off, but I'm sure it wouldn't take but a quick Google search.
It wouldn't. Yeah. But if you go back and you think about it, even the games that I didn't get to play, like Zelda and that kind of stuff, Tears of the Kingdom and stuff,
it's insane.
This is insane. You throw in action RPGs like Diablo, you throw in JRPGs like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. We, as RPG lovers, have not had a stretch run like this, I don't think ever, that I can think of. I'd have to go back and look, but man, oh man, we eating good out here on that RPG side. So yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 has been my black hole.
You can even throw in kind of the hybrid Souls genre, since that's kind of blend. Yeah,
Souls is having their own great year. That's what I brought up too. They're having their own great 12, 24 months, right? With Elden Ring, Lies of P. We're gonna have Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade's got some Souls too. Like they're having one hell of a run here too. But yeah, man, Golden Age is here, folks. Golden Age is here. What a great time to be a gamer.
And it's the second week in a row we got a full promo from Pong about Dragon's Dogma 2. That's how I know it's his definitely game of the year, because he doesn't do that. That's 2 weeks in a row.
Oh yeah,
we got a full 2-minute long promo about Dragon's Dogma 2 and why you need to buy it. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to you being here, Pong. Appreciate you, bro. Once again, I got to get in, man. I'm gonna get the game. I did the FOMO thing with Elden Ring, chat. I'm not gonna lie, and I played a little bit of it. Knew I wasn't gonna continue to play it. I don't feel like that's gonna happen with this game just from watching it. It looks more along my speed. You know kind of what I'm into, Pong. You played plenty of games with me to know.
Yes.
I feel like I could get into that. I feel like
I will get into this.
Okay.
Yes.
I feel pretty good about that. Chat, let me know, man. Chat, I mean, I haven't gamed with everybody in there, obviously, but like I think that's more along the speed that I'm looking for.
Because I wouldn't be playing it if it was like,
absolutely.
Like if it was on the Soul side of thing, I'd be already done. I wouldn't be given 2 weeks of promos. Okay, per se, I'd probably be coming in here and going, I tried, but no. This is a nice mix. It's not Bethesda, but it's definitely not From Software at all. But you do have some strategy involved. But your pawns will take care of you, PTK. That's the nice part. The pawns AI is even better than it was in the first one, and they will carry you if you've got the right mix of pawns. They will be able to carry you. That's so awesome. It is nice. Yes,
and that's what I've seen from watching gameplay too, man, for sure. But I definitely want to dive in ASAP, bro. But thank you once again for providing me with another reason to buy the damn game. Not that I don't have enough already, but appreciate you, man.
Steel's gonna help you with your subs, and you can go buy the game. Man,
we'll good, see, y'all got
that is true, man. Again, PTK for a cool 250. We can get you about 8K.
We're not doing the links, chat. Listen, don't listen to Steel. If chat,
you got 10K tomorrow.
Don't click on the link. He might drop in chat. Don't.
No, look, man. Look. Over the period of a week, PTK, we'll just do $31 a day. It won't be a problem. You get one. It won't even be a question. You'll just be like, "Look, man, this is just what you do when you get good content out there."
Oh my god, 10K overnight, man. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. But let's dive in, man. We got a whole lot to talk about, man. Like I said, Fuzz is probably gonna drop in here a little bit. He's coming in hot from the other show. Shout out to them as well too. Shout out to Delilah. What's up, Delilah? How you doing? GWG. Grown Woman Gaming representing in the house, man. Appreciate you. What just Decado, everybody, man. Appreciate all you, man. But we got a lot to talk about, so let's dive in, man. We jumping off the porch, man. We're gonna start with the Take Two in Gearbox news. Obviously, we got that big news earlier this week, man. Something that we've been wondering, when the hell was this gonna happen? When was Embracer gonna realize we need more money and start actually selling off these companies rather than closing them, the devs rather than closing them? This was a big one. This was huge, obviously, right? I believe 460 mil. That is a bargain for the dev that made Borderlands.
Yes,
a game that, mind you, has a brand new movie coming out pretty soon with A-list celebrities in it. mind you, not some side project movie. A-list actors in it, so this is a big deal. Obviously, they already had a working relationship with Borderlands and some of the other things they've done. But Fuzz, sorry about that, Pong. We're gonna start with you on this one, bro. We're gonna, obviously we've been talking about Embracer, and I gotta call you out a little bit on this one. I gotta pull back a little bit. We white knighted Embracer maybe a little too early. I remember we had this conversation, Pong. We said, Embracer's coming along, doing the Lord's work, buying up these studios, letting them be creative, make games. That has not worked out for us, Pong.
No, and I have talked about this ever since Embracer started, and ever since the House of Cards started falling down. Lars Wingefors, I was on his bandwagon because his vision is what I believed in, right? This man was about resurrecting old franchises that had been dormant. He was about becoming kind of the center of the AA gaming world by picking up developers and bringing back some developers to make games like Time Splitters that had been gone for a long time, right? This was his vision. When he spoke, he was speaking to my heart as a AA fan, as somebody who sits and reminisces and has nostalgia for a lot of IP that is no longer made and hasn't been made in a decade plus. I was all on board with him. Now, as I've stated, I was on board with the vision. I thought that he had a solid business plan to back this up. I did not know he was making $2 billion handshake deals and betting the farm on a handshake in the 2020s. Okay, this is not the 1800s. We don't spit in our palms and shake hands on a $2 billion deal and it's all good, right? That's not how this works anymore. So had I known the inside baseball on how he was kind of structuring his business, the vision was A plus, man. If he could have pulled this off and we would have gotten a new Time Splitters, right? We would have had some franchises come back to life again. He would have been supporting all these devs and had a nice functioning pipeline. And we talked about how he could have supplied Gamepass with AA type gaming forever, worked out a deal with Microsoft. Like there was a lot of different roads he could have gone. So the vision and his idea behind what he was doing with Embracer, is what I fell in love with, right? And why I trumpeted the man's coming, right? Is because I said, this dude's got it, right? This dude gets it. He knows what's kind of missing in the video game industry, and he respects the history of the industry and some of the IP that should still be alive, but isn't because business, right? So I thought that was, I thought that was great. But now we come to find out that the business plan was a house of cards and everything's on fire. And at least he is selling off some stuff to keep it around instead of just closing up shop. And
they've already closed up.
They've done, right?
Right,
they have.
4 that they shut down.
He shut down Time Splitters team, right? He's done that a lot, right? The Saints Row team is no more. Volition is no more at all. They did that themselves by ruining Saints Row, but whatever. That's a whole different conversation. But anyways, he did close them up. They're no more. So yes, this is a house of cards on fire, collapsing, but at least some people are escaping. Saber and obviously now Gearbox is also escaping, which is great news. Really, really good news. It's snowing again for Randy Pitchford, so I know he's happy. So whenever it snows, whenever he can go skiing again on the rails, he's good. So Randy's still living the high life. That means we're going to still be getting, Borderlands 4. We're still going to get the Borderlands movie, as crazy as it is, the geriatric Borderlands movie. Listen, Randy's living the high life. So Randy somehow is one of those people that keeps surviving no matter what, when everything should fall apart on him. He just that guy glides down another rail.
Yeah, I know, right?
And comes up with another idea, right? So
crazy, dude.
So anyways, but yeah, no, it's good to see. It was a value deal for sure. 460 million. I called this. This is one of my predictions that came about. I had said from the beginning, the minute we heard Gearbox was shopping, that 2K made the most sense. They've worked with them in the past. It was such a natural fit, and 2K
and at that price,
make
460.
these.
That's
460.
That's
no. It's a great bargain value price, especially since they're already well into development on Borderlands 4. By the sounds of it, 2K announced that right away with their purchase. There was some layoffs to go along with this, so it wasn't all roses. But at the same time, as far as a fit goes, them back with 2K underneath that umbrella is great. They have a great publishing arm too, which people don't realize. They publish some games like Risk of Rain, which was great. The DLC stuff, Blanc, Eyes in the Dark. So they publish indie games, and they got a big one coming out on the PC side this year, which people aren't aware of. This could be a gigantic publishing moment for Gearbox. They've got Homeworld 3 coming out, which is a space RTS. If nobody's played Homeland, I understand why a lot of people aren't on PC. This is a game that I have now. I own the remastered version of the original and number 2 to try to get ready for this. This is an RTS in space where you actually have to move your ships up and down and in space. So it's even more complex, but it's huge over on PC. And number 3 is something that people have been looking forward to for a very long time. They do a ton of marketing already on Twitter, on X. You'll see their advertising all the time for Homeworld 3. They just delayed it. It was already supposed to be out. I've got it pre-ordered. It's now coming out in May, but this could be a big W early for Gearbox, and now they're under 2K, which means good things for 2K. So the $460 million price tag was a bargain.
Yeah, dropping a bucket.
It was a deal. I mean? It was a deal, man.
Perfect deal, beautiful deal. So I think the big thing for me is to see a team like Gearbox get a home that's gonna, that already recognizes the talent that's gonna be able to foster that. They already got a working relationship. That the integration's already gonna be there. So I'm happy. I would have been livid had we got a different tweet from Gearbox. I'd have lost my mind probably. Yeah. I would have hated to see a team like that get either broken up or downsized.
They're too good. They've been around too long.
Yeah, so
they're too talented, man. So
too.
Oh, I forgot to mention too. They published Remnant 2, by the way, too. Yep. I totally forgot that too. Yeah. That was a huge W earlier. So, great team. I'm glad they're sticking around. Glad Randy keeps to get partying, and everything's good, man. Everything's good.
Well, quick question: Who picked up Relic?
Nobody. They're indie.
Nobody did.
They got investor. They had some investors come in, private investors come in and pull them away. So they are full indie now. So yep.
Nice.
Cool. So let's throw this over to you. We go. You know what? Since you came in here we're gonna let you sit for a little bit. We're gonna let you sit for a little bit. Throw this over to Steel, but Steel, once again, this is something that me and Pong, even Fuzz, I'm sure he remembers too. We were all in on Embracer, man. I looked at it. I'm like, okay, they're doing very good things, and they did buy a lot of companies extremely fast. There was like I would say 6 to 8 month period where they just opened up that checkbook and were buying everything that came their way. It's like every other week we're getting a tweet, Embracer picked up this dev, Embracer picked up this dev. So it was kind of crazy, but the vision was there. And that's the one thing I want to highlight, because Pong was 100% correct. We talked about this multiple times. The vision was there. They had the project lined up. You know what I mean? They already got working relationships with, the big 3. Everything is already there. Was it too much too fast?
I don't know if it was too much too fast. The problem is you can't do a deal with like the Saudis, for an example, and not have a backup plan.
Yeah.
That makes absolutely no sense.
That doesn't work either, right?
I mean, you can acquire everything that you can want to acquire. I mean, if the money is yours, but if you don't have something to back that up or a different strategy in mind, then guess what? When the time comes, you're going to lose out on that money. And now, and now we get to sell this for $400 million. And I mean, again, it's super dope that they were at least able to divest them off, and they're able to go somewhere else. So that's the main thing. And under the 2K branding, I could say that at least gives me hope that we could potentially get like a Godfall 2, for an example. Another game that I think is extremely slept on, that a lot of people overlooked because of the community underplaying it or downplaying it. And again, I'm not saying it's the most magical game in the world, but I could see where a number 2 could definitely be a completely different experience and be all the things that they maybe were looking for in the first game.
Hey, Steel, don't forget, I was just going to say, Randy, in one of his Magic Snow moments was telling us that was the first game to take advantage of the SSD, bro. Like, really? That was the power of the SSD. Randy did a lot of damage, bro, by hyping that game.
Look, man, Sony was right there, too. Sony was like, yeah, man, just tell them the SSD, bro. Nobody else got this. I put that on PlayStation as well. I know PlayStation got in there, kind of deal. Was like, part of this deal, you got to say it's because of the PlayStation 5S. That had to have happened. There's no other way. But I mean, again, that's kind of what I would want to see. Tiny Tina's something, Tiny Tina 2, maybe so they can get back into that, like Borderlands 2. I could see that possibly being successful, work on that ending game, make it more addressable, easier to get into. And I mean, just overall, I haven't heard as much traction about Tiny Tina like I've heard from a Borderlands. So, you know, I just want to see these other games get their full potential out there, get their shot. And it's kind of what makes it even worse is if this is the case and they had to be sold and they had to be sold off. Who knows if those games are even in development right now? If those developers even have a way to support any of those games getting started up. So that's the biggest thing about this. It's kind of unfortunate. Where in the industry right now, this seems extremely volatile. As far as work goes, as far as people go, again, more stuff from Ubisoft is coming out. So it's just, you know, I want the devs to be able to be in a stable environment to create whatever magic that they want to create.
Exactly.
So that's my big.
No, actually, once again, that's huge, and them being paired, it's a perfect pairing. I mean, we and the price.
2K got plenty of money, like
$460. I mean, come on, that's a drop in the bucket. Still, you can't get that kind of IP and talent for $460. You know what I mean?
And with 2K's money, bro. And with 2K's money,
right? Didn't Embracer pay? Or something,
1.5. Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
So right over $1 billion, but with the kind of capital that 2K has, at that point there's no reason why any of the games that I even mentioned wouldn't have enough at least leeway to be able to take off. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Same. Once again, in a like you said, volatile industry, we're seeing, you know, devs, publishers closing left and right. This is a good thing, especially for a developer that I love. You know what I mean? I'm a huge proponent and fan of the Borderlands franchise. Always have been, probably always will be, even though I don't play or, you know, I haven't been as interested in the newer IPs as the older ones, but I still love the characters, love the game, and love to see that it's still going to, you know, be around, man, you know, in this day and age. So it's always cool to see. Fuzz. Last but not least, brother, man, big moves here. We talked about Embracer for a long time. I think you were with me and Pong, you know, when we talked about this maybe a year or two ago about Embracer before they made all those purchases, and they were doing, you know, great things. Looked like the roadmap. They were going to be the people that really, you know, the AA market and bring back some of those games we've been talked about, engines, things like that. They got a lot, man. They had a lot, I would say, but this is a big move, obviously for 2K. What do you think just about the acquisition?
Well, I just wanted to start off and say Embracer could have probably made it work despite the $2 billion that they counted before, you know, any paperwork was signed. If they went a little bit slower, like some of the stuff, they could have, you know, definitely filled it where they could have gotten bags of money from both, you know, Xbox and PlayStation with, you know, stuff that would normally go into like their subscription stuff, whether it be PS Plus or Game Pass. They could have definitely, you know, kind of focused on some of the main games that people were looking forward to. Like they did well, although I don't know if it was as well as they'd hoped with like, was it Dead Island 2 was their publishing as well, correct?
I believe so, yeah. So
they had a chance to kind of make things work, but I think they definitely bit off more than they can chew when they picked up, you know, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, which, you know, in all honesty is probably for the best because those studios would probably be gone otherwise. But it's a shame that they've had the turn that they've had where, you know, they counted on that $2 billion and didn't get a handshake in some regards works. That used to be the old thing that would, you know, carry you before, you know, courts were involved kind of thing. But these days, the signature is the best way to go about it. And even then, you can't even make that a guarantee because people can back out of contracts and, you know, drain you in court fees and stuff like that, dragging it out in court kind of thing. So it's great to see 2K pick them up. It makes the most sense. Kind of feel that they probably should have went there to begin with or stayed there type of thing. But hopefully, you know, some more of these studios can either go independent because that seems to be a thing now where instead of closing, I guess some of the people that are running those studios can put some pennies together or get some outside funding and go independent type of deal, or at least have some viable buyers, which it kind of sucks in the grand scheme of things because didn't Embracer pay like 1.2 or 1.3 billion?
Yeah, it was about
for
1. Something between 1.2 and like 1.45 billion. Still, what was it
man?
specifically?
It was over $1 billion. It was over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact
I
number.
don't remember.
It was over $1
Yeah.
billion.
So they paid $1 billion and then they got 400 and some odd million, which I guess it's better than zero. But man, that's. Whew. I mean, I guess they could do that as a tax write-off.
It was 1.3.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
1.3. Whoo, man, I'd hate to look at that balance sheet, but yeah. Good on 2K, good on Gearbox, Embracer. Hopefully, you can find more deals to offload some of these studios before you have to close them or do more layoffs. Sucks that you're taking a bath on this, but hopefully they can sustain or survive this in the long term and keep whatever core studios they can. But moving forward, best of luck to Gearbox with 2K. I think that's going to be a nice, comfortable home for them. I love your reference about the snow and the parties and man, oh man.
Pitchford, huh?
I just picture him coming out of one of those like movie trailers because of the whole Borderlands thing with stuff on his nose and be like, your nose. Oh, yeah, powdered donuts. Don't worry. Powdered donuts. But man, yeah, it's sucks for Embracer, but lesson learned. I hope hopefully we hear something soon about Crystal and Eidos, and hopefully they wind up at Xbox or someone or somewhere where Xbox friendly as opposed to PlayStation, I guess. But yeah, man, at least it's better than what it could have been had Take-Two not stepped in. I think that's probably the bigger thing to look at, the bigger grand scheme of things. But awesome that they have a home now, and more power to them.
So, quick question, guys. Just a quick shooter here. Since we're talking about them getting rid of some of the other dead weight, not dead weight. That's disrespectful to the devs. You know what I mean, right? Kind of trimming the fat, I should say, right? To better chat. So how much do you guys think? How much would CD cost? You think? How much would Crystal Dynamics go for?
Whew. They paid, was it 400 for 3 or 300 for 3 of them? I think it was something like that. I think they got all of the IPs and the 3 studios that they merged into just 2 or something like that. I think they got it for 300 mil or 400 mil. I think if they could make their money like break even, which Phil is a great negotiator, case in point with ABK, with undercutting them at the 95 a share. I think Xbox writes them a check for 400 and takes CD and Eidos and the IPs, and I think at this point Hans or Jan, whatever his name is, winds up being happy that he gets something out of it, as opposed to
Lars.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, he paid. Yeah, they paid 300 million. So they could probably make some money with somebody like Microsoft. I think you're right.
Microsoft would definitely overpay.
They might overpay a little bit, just for the IP too. If you're getting the IP as well, it'd be worth it to Microsoft to secure it. Is Microsoft going to do any acquisitions? That's the big question, right?
I'm just throwing out the number though. I'm just curious as to what they would. Just anybody,
I think 400 to 500. I think Fuzzy's right with the right buyer, because they got a fire sale from Square Enix for Eidos and for Crystal, right? So they got that
to buy them from Embracer.
Yeah, to buy them from Embracer. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if 2K got whatchamacallit for half of what they spent, then it's gonna be half the price.
But I don't think so, Steele, because they got a deal from Square Enix in the first place. That 300 million was undervalued. Embracer got a deal, right? Because some people thought that should go for closer to $1 billion.
I don't think Embracer is at a point where they can negotiate a good deal.
No. But I'm just saying,
I think somebody was going to be another loss on money.
Yeah, it could be, but I'm just saying if somebody was going to walk in and give them a fair price, they could actually probably make something off of that team. Those
I
two
give you
teams.
200 mil.
For CD?
For
That 200 mil. Yeah.
200, that's it?
If you spent 4 and you are now in a tragic situation and you need to recoup some of that money, I'm not paying you over just because it was a good deal at the time. I don't care about that. You are in a bad spot.
No, I
you
understand.
need
They
this
don't have
money.
any leverage.
So
they have zero
guess what?
leverage in the
That's-
negotiation.
Steel's like, I'll give you $31 a day. Dynamics and ideals.
Whatever you need. Whatever you need. I get you 1,000 a day. That's all good. For $31, I get you 1,000 a day.
Hey, look, hey, y'all. I almost started promoting that shit. Let me shut up, man. Let me stop before I get my damn whole channel shut down. Damn you, Steel. That's not. No, listen. That's not a bad. I feel you, Steel. Like they have no leverage in that argument, right? In that negotiation, they come to the table. They need the money. Right, that's in the conversation. We know you need the money. We're not paying over anything. So even though I said somebody like Microsoft would probably overpay, they have no incentive to overpay.
Yeah.
Nah, if anything, they'd probably pay the same price if they wanted to be good guys. Hey, what did you pay for him? Okay, we'll match that. If they wanted to be a good guy, but if we cut Gearbox in half, if you were able to get it for less than half of what we paid, then guess what? If I'm going to carry that trend over, there's no way that we're about to haggle me for extra money on a deal because you got a good deal. Nah, go ahead and give me those for about 200, 220, 200. 200 million.
225 if I'm feeling generous.
Yeah, exactly. 225 if I'm feeling good.
We'll throw in Game Pass subscriptions for your entire team.
Yep, exactly. We'll give you a year of Game Pass.
In the Game Pass.
Oh shit!
That is terrible, dude.
It is. But I do get where Steel's coming from, and I do understand. Obviously, that might be the situation, but it might be too where Embracer really does keep.
How
Crystal.
You think about keeping the talent? So you got to pay for the people as well. You might overpay to keep the talent too. Steel.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other, I mean, sure, if you wanted to keep the talent, depending on what's going on, but you can also just buy them and then upscale the talent. Like you can pay those people, right? With the additional money that you would have saved, right? You just make sure that goes to the people. Now, is that going to be the case? Probably not. And even if they said, oh, we're going to pay you in for the people, I highly doubt that the money's going to go back to the people. Again, just trying to follow what's been going on in gaming. I mean, it'd be cool. Yeah, there you go. It'd be interesting if Embracer ended up keeping them. But if you owe that type of money or not, now that that deal fell through for you, I just don't see anybody else willing to invest in you because you obviously don't have a good thought process behind these deals that you're cutting or are willing to risk it all, which is fine. But with risk with high risk, there's very high prices to pay, and you have to have people willing to invest in you if you want to continue to be in business the way I think Embracer is going to go to the wayside unless somebody buys Embracer.
You think so?
Yeah, and then Lars, he's going to have to go. He's not going to be there anymore. At least to me, that's what this spells out. This is almost like a huge L on your resume. People are going to look at that and be like, why would I want to do business with you? You don't have any good savvy business. There's so many other people that you probably could have talked to accomplish some of the similar things. Sure, there would have been partnerships or whatever else the case may be. But isn't that better than you banking it all on a maybe? It's not even a guarantee. You didn't even get any upfront money.
And don't forget that he was doing this during the pandemic when everybody was on buying sprees, right? And everybody overspent. Everybody, obviously went all in on the tech side. A lot of people did this, right, in different ways. So that's kind of where he definitely jumped the gun. And I think they can downsize to a portion or a size where they can survive. And what I was going to say is that Crystal Dynamics and Eidos are both making money for him right now because they're contracting those teams out to Xbox, right?
That is true.
So they are bringing him money. They have the deal for the Tomb Raider series with Amazon, right? So they are making money off that IP as well. So I think those could be a couple that he does keep if he thinks he can get this down to a manageable size by selling off different people. I think these two might be the ones that are kind of untouchable right now that he's going to sit on because they are kind of producing, right? They are producing for him.
It'll be a killer comeback for him.
And he did get a great price on him. So it's not like he's he's not under the water with these two at least, right? So he's probably going to be able to make his money back off of these two for sure. If he hasn't already with the contracts with Xbox. So
thank God he has these two locked into what they're doing right now. If that's the only parachute that he has currently, you look at the entire company, those are about the two shining beacons that you can look at and say, okay, these two have some promise. And it's only because of the contract and collaboration that they're currently working on. So, and the IP that they are as well too to help. So
it's just shaky. If I was working for Embracer, oh my God, I'd be shaking in my boots right now. Like, bro, am I gonna have a job tomorrow?
Especially if you're one of the new teams, right? If you were one of the newer teams,
I remember seeing that chart and seeing the amount of devs and studios they have. I'm like, holy fucking moly!
Yeah.
With how many? And there's so many. I can't even think of all. I remember seeing that chart. I can't even think of all of those studios. And like you said, if you're one of the smaller ones that aren't as important that they just picked up when they were in that buying spree, man, like things are looking a bit shaky.
Yep. And I'll throw this in here too as well before we get off this topic. I was going to mention this with Gearbox. While I think it's a great buy, it's a great fit, right? There is a difference here between having a publishing deal for Borderlands and now being owned by Take-Two, right? You go from Lars to Strauss. Strauss is a different beast. Right? Okay, Strauss, all we have to look at is a established veteran team like Firaxis that came out with Midnight Suns, and Midnight Suns did okay, but did not perform to Strauss's expectations, and they dismantled Firaxis. And that, again, Firaxis, this is a lot of the original Firaxis that built XCOM, that is like has been around for decades, and Strauss had zero issues going, you guys, you tried your best on Midnight Suns, just didn't meet expectations, and all of a sudden there was a whole lot
Disney license.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of people leaving. Right, exactly. So I think Randy's got to be careful. It's a different type of relationship going from just, you're publishing one of our biggest games and a very popular game that does very well in Borderlands, a very popular franchise, right? That's very easy. Now you are owned. There's a different set of circumstances. So Randy and Cousin Eddie, he's a lot like Randy Quaid in Vacation, right? Cousin Eddie. Randy's got to be careful how far he pushes that, and if he just thinks he's good because he's had a former relationship with 2K, now that he's owned by Strauss, I think that they have to make sure that the next Borderlands is not another Borderlands 3 situation where a large portion of the fan base was unhappy with it. It did not live up to Borderlands 2. As Steele pointed out, a lot of people did like Tiny Tina's Adventure, but a lot of Borderland veterans also did not like Tiny Tina's, and the end game did not live up to any of the Borderlands style of DLC and endgame stuff. So they're gonna have to walk on some pins and needles a little bit here and make sure whatever they're putting out next is like the best of the best that they can possibly get done. Make it successful, because Strauss ain't gonna put up with it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's a different walking into that kitchen is a little different. Yeah, it's a little different. That's the one thing that we got to think about these moves too. Point. I'm glad you brought that up before we turn the page here. It's just a different environment, and like you said, Randy gonna have to learn how to move a little differently around stuff.
Yeah. It's just
expectations are quite different.
Very different. And again, Strauss is a no-nonsense dude. Strauss isn't one of those guys who's going to play favorites. He's not. Again, Firaxis, huge, successful dev studio. XCOM, hugely successful for 2K. Like, this is not a joke. And they have one bad, was semi bad. It wasn't even horrible, but one semi bad performing game, and all of a sudden massive changes in Firaxis, right?
Yeah.
Massive dismantling. Like Strauss ain't putting up with it. So you do have to be careful.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the page on this one, man. Great topic, man. Obviously want to get that out the way. Such a huge thing happened, and we'll keep an eye on Embracer. We're gonna keep an eye on them. I don't believe that'll be the last time we'll hear about them selling off some pieces. Hopefully that's what we hear and not them closing shit down. I don't want to hear that. I do not see tweets about devs getting shut down or dismantled or being sold off in small pieces. I'd much rather see that talent go somewhere where it can be used, because they gobbled up a lot of IPs, a lot of engines, a lot of talent. So hopefully none of that goes the way. Well, not all of it goes the way. So I wanted to get into something else too here, something else that's near and dear to my heart. And I'm gonna actually go to you on this one first, Pong, because you actually introduced me to this series, brother. And you made me fall in love with it. I'm actually going to give you a whole lot of credit for this. We talk a little bit about Diablo 4 and it finally hitting Game Pass. I know this is, we talk about the Activision. Some people say, well, we haven't seen any fruits of that labor or that partnership or acquisition yet. Well, this is one of the first things that we're seeing that's legitimately happening, especially in the Game Pass. For hitting Game Pass, we've seen a little bit of that, but not much. This is the first big one. So Diablo 4 hitting Game Pass, mind you, prior to the first huge update coming out too. So that's pretty important as well too. But Pong, go to you on this one, bro. I know the game's been up and down. The game has been so good that a game like Diablo 4 could get lost in the sauce. Like games have been that good that things that happen in Diablo don't get talked about right away. Whereas before, that was like top of the list, you know what I mean, as far as on these journalist conversations or topic pieces. So, but yeah, just what do you think about it hitting Game Pass? Obviously, we figured this was inevitable at some point, and will this do what we hope it does for the game?
Yeah, I think it will. It's easy to again dismiss Diablo 4 because of the problems they had very early on when it launched. It still sold massively. And I've seen people say, well, everybody who wanted to play it bought it already. Listen, that's not how the real world works. I hate that concept when people say, oh, if you really wanted to play that game, you would have bought it. Why do you wait for Game Pass? Because that's not how everybody works. Most people don't just go buy every game. So it's not true. I've already seen a lot of people that got excited for this announcement, especially the other day when they confirmed that it had dropped into Game Pass. I saw a lot of people saying, download now, firing it up. I've seen some people actually posting about it, saying having a great time with Diablo 4. I think they're definitely going to see a bump. Is this like going to be a massive surge? I don't know about that. Somebody in our chat, Steel, I can't remember who it was, said they tried to log in today and they did have a 3-minute queue, which means that more people are playing it again. So I definitely think that this is definitely going to give them a push, and the more people that get a chance, because we all know here, because we've all played it, right? A bunch. We all know if there's one thing about Diablo 4, even if it doesn't become the addiction that it is for a lot of us, even if you don't become that, if you start playing this campaign and you start playing the story, chances are, as a gamer, you're going to get hooked to the story, because this is the best damn Diablo story ever created. And the cinematics are freaking ridiculous movie quality. Yeah. So people will get to experience that. And like you said, PTK, they've got a major expansion coming out sometime this year. It'll be the first big expansion.
Oh, and that campfire, we didn't even go get into that. That made me so happy, bro.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm so excited about the changes that's coming up.
And they're continuing to work on it. Now, the thing is, obviously, this type of year, coming off of last year, there's a lot of games to play. There's a lot of freaking fantastic games to play. They're fighting for people's time, just like every other game. But the chance for people that do own Game Pass Ultimate, who may have not dipped into Diablo, who may have heard a lot of the discourse in the community about what was going on with Diablo and the screw ups and all that kind of stuff, they have a chance to download, as I always say, no risk. You download it, you check it out. If it's for you, great. You didn't pay a damn dime for it, so you're good to go. And I think that they are going to capture some more people. And again, getting people into that ecosystem of Diablo 4, potentially maybe buying some of the ugly cosmetics, as Steel calls them, for $30, $40. This is all just bonus to them, right? This is people that would probably have waited until it was very cheap on a sale to begin with. Now they're getting in a little bit earlier and playing through the campaign, finding out that the campaign is so damn cool, even if the rest of it doesn't wind up appealing to them the most, they might hop into the expansion, the story expansion, to see where the story goes. That's how good this story is. I really do believe that. So I think they are going to capture some hearts of people. I think some people are going to check it out, like you and your early ARPG experiences, and find out that they love looters, right? That they actually do enjoy this type of game. Maybe they've never got to experience it before because they never owned a PC, never tried out any of the other billion ARPGs that are out there. But Diablo is that name that they go, okay, well, it's in Game Pass. I'm going to check out and see why everybody talks about Diablo all the time. And it's a great time to jump in. They fixed a lot of stuff. They, again, the campfire that they just did, they're working on more changes that are good. Some of them are questionable, but more often than not, they are going back and correcting a lot of the issues that never should have been there in the first place. As Steele likes to point out, with this veteran team from Blizzard, they should have known what the issue points were going to be. For some reason, they're oblivious, but they're going back and they're fixing a lot of it now. So I think it's a great time to have this happen in Game Pass. So I'm excited for all the new people jumping in. Again, I haven't uninstalled it. I haven't, had that one be the one that I make room with for other games, because I do plan on going back. Now, I am obviously playing other games. I'm looking forward to Path of Exile 2 coming out in beta this year, because I'm really excited for what they're going to do.
Last Epoch just came out.
The last Epoch I've been playing, which is absolutely ridiculously good, but not available on console. So again, if people don't have a PC, it's not something they can hop into. And Path of Exile, to be honest, if you're not a veteran of these types of games, and even if you are a veteran of these types of games, can be overwhelming and can be very daunting to jump into. Whereas Diablo,
I remember you sent me them damn schematics,
bro. It's no joke. I mean, all you got to do is go watch Oh No, It's Alex
Jesus
and
Christ,
his streams
man.
with Path of Exile, what he goes through to change his class, and he's he's up there with the top. He's really good at Path of Exile. He's been playing it for a long time, and he understands the systems. I can't imagine jumping into it as somebody who didn't have any experience in these games at all. So Diablo gives you that taste, and it's a little bit more digestible. It's still pretty deep. Diablo is much deeper than it used to be. It's still pretty deep, but it gives it into a little bit more mass market kind of appeal, right? So I think that there's going to be a lot of people that find out that they like this genre for the first time by jumping into Game Pass and downloading Diablo 4. It's a big W. It's a big first game to have coming from Activision Blizzard. I still think by now we should have gotten some type of roadmap. I'm a little, kind of disappointed that we don't have kind of some more drops here from Activision Blizzard. I know they're probably planning it out as a marketing thing. I get all that. But to have Diablo 4 be here, big moment, big part of the ABK deal. It's really cool to see this dropping in here, and I'm happy for the people that are jumping in and experiencing Diablo for the first time and maybe falling in love with it for the first time. Again, the campaign is worth your time. Even if you're going to sit here and say, I don't play these types of games, I would tell you just to download it and play through the campaign, play through the story, because the story is worth seeing and worth experiencing the first time. Absolutely 1000%. It's amazing.
And I second that as a fairly new ARPG fan. You know what I mean? So I 100% just urge people to jump in and just try it out. Like you said, the campaign is worthy enough, in my opinion. Even if you don't care too much about the mechanics and the gameplay and all of the other stuff that ARPGs offer, the story in of itself is going to be enough to keep you moving through it and keep you motivated enough to keep playing it, at least in my opinion. So I would say dive. And you said it's more digestible.
Yes.
It's one of the easier to play ARPGs. You don't want to start with PoE unless you're just that kind of person. You know what I mean? Hey, I can't tell you true, but that's a bit advanced. You know what I mean? When you look at ARPGs. But yeah, for me, I understand what you're talking about as far as the roadmap, not knowing as much as we possibly should know. But this is a big deal for Diablo. I've become a huge fan of the franchise, and this is a great deal for Xbox, great deal for Diablo. I think people are going to come back, and the timing, all of this, is great because it's right before that new DLC, the first huge update coming out, new map, I believe a new character as well too, new class.
New class. Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
As well too. So that's going to be huge. So I mean, it works, you know what I mean? And the game is phenomenal too. It was my game of the year probably up until Starfield came out last year.
Right.
So
right.
And I'm on, you can go back and check the files. I'm on record saying that. So you can go back and double check. So I thought the game, I thought that highly of the game. So I think it's a great pickup. And like I'm with you, Pong. I urge people to go out and just try it. It's in Game Pass, so hey, no skin off your back. If you already own Game Pass Ultimate, go play it for sure. So Steel, and I know Steel with you, you can. I can always count on you to speak your mind about games. You don't play the whole I'm just a super fan of this IP, so I'm not gonna call things out. You know what I mean? You always call it like it is. So and I know this franchise has been, a little up and down with you, you know what I mean? But just what do you think about it being in Game Pass? Obviously the timing, because the new DLC and things are coming out as well.
Well, I do want to correct. I don't. Diablo's not up and down for me personally. It's just when I take the RTS approach. No, you're good. You're good. When I take the RTS approach, I try to look at it from across the board. I've been playing Diablo since Diablo 2 on PC. I've never played Diablo 1. So just coming from that perspective and seeing the game grow and seeing how the competition is also came onto the scene. Again, Path of Exile was literally the only reason why Path of Exile is what it is because of Diablo. Because people were complaining so much that, we're not getting Diablo 2 again. Path of Exile stepped in and said, wait, we're pretty much that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now it wasn't perfect in the beginning either, and they grew it over time, but it obviously had more of the understanding of what true end game of an ARPG should look like. And now you got Last Epoch kind of coming out of, I'm not going to say necessarily coming out of nowhere, because that game has been being developed in the background with the community and everything. And I'm consistent with that. They've taken their time, but they're also lesser known. So it's like when you have these two devs that essentially come out of nowhere, these two teams that essentially kind of come out of nowhere and are doing things better than a $1 billion business in Diablo. I just think that that's a problem. And I think it more so speaks to the rumors that we were hearing about Diablo 4 having issues, the behind the scenes, that crunch and all that stuff that we heard a year prior, before the game came out, from Jason Schreier and other people that were putting that information out there. Now, again, shout out to God, I can't. It's right there. Why is it right there and I can't think of it? Dude, he was on Gears before. Why is it gone? Chat, help me out. He was on Gears before, but then he moved to Blizzard. He's literally right there for me, dog. It's literally on the tip of my tongue.
You know who it is, Fuzz Pong? You guys got any idea?
No.
What's his last name though? Decado? Ron Ferguson. Thank you.
Oh, Rod Ferguson. Rod Ferguson. I don't know why. Okay.
Obviously, because he's known as a closer, obviously he was able to close this game and release it day one in a good position, which I think speaks to Rod more than anything else. So again, for me, it's dope seeing Diablo now seemingly getting some traction, but it's just going to depend. It's going to depend on how things continue to play out. I do think that it's a boon for it, being in Game Pass now, especially on console. It's going to be really easy for people to jump in. Oh man, I never played Diablo before. I've heard good things. Boom, check it out. They play the story. It's like, man, that's a pretty good story. Maybe they don't play the rest of the game, right? The end game content and whatever else. There are some people who do that, and they move on, but at least you got somebody else to try it that wouldn't have before. So that's the biggest thing for me. Diablo 5 is absolute fire, is absolute God tier for me, especially story wise. I enjoyed everything that the game gave me. Again, I have over 100 hours in Diablo, probably close to 200. And I don't regret a single hour or a single minute of what I've played with the boys. Leveling up, playing solo, podcast, all that stuff. Like it was a good time. But I'm gonna hold Blizzard's feet to the fire because they're the granddaddy in this, and I just can't excuse that when you have others that obviously get the point, right?
Got it. And that's fair. And once again, chat, we call it right down the middle here, man. So that's fair. And those criticisms have been on display. Although I will say, and this is just me speaking, maybe you don't feel this way still in Pong. I feel like there's been a bit of a witch hunt for Diablo, a little bit of a witch hunt out for Diablo. I mean,
that's Diablo's fault.
It is. No, you're right. Like they've created, they've given people reasons to kind of feel that way. And I'm not, I'm not going to go against that at all. But I do think that they have a lot of work to do. I do agree with you. The fireside chat, I believe the most recent one was very promising. There were a couple things in there, like Pong said earlier, mentioned that we're a little shaky, but for the most part, it looks like things are going in the right direction. Now, me being a new ARPG fan, I don't know what the fucking community wants out of these games. So you Pong, I always default to you, Steel Pong, for stuff like this because I don't really know what the game's supposed to be. I'm just playing the shit. I'm just happy that I'm playing. So it's always weird for me to see the energy in the community because I don't always understand like where it's coming from. You guys have a history with these types of games. So for me,
a lot of it comes from the end game stuff.
Got
Steel will
it.
always speak on. A lot of it comes from a lot of it comes from once you get past the main portion and you max level. Yeah. What happens after you max level when you start min-maxing your characters? And again, that's not something I don't get in the meta and I don't get into all that all the time either. But the large part of the community who does put hundreds of hours into these types of games, right? People that is grinding out for a certain piece of gear with the best rolls on it and will regrind, right? Those are the people that you hear most of the time. Now, there are some basic things, right? Upfront things, some quality of life stuff that somehow Blizzard just freaking fails at. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They've done this forever, but just some simple stuff like storage. Right, the limited storage and how they had some of the materials being stored that took up so much room that you were finding all the time.
Like that's the stupid stuff. Over time,
they are, but they talked about this in the first fire chat and why a lot of us were speaking out like, oh my, what are you guys doing? They talked about how they were going to have to go back and recode a lot of this stuff because it was like they thought they had figured it out, like this was a good idea, and it was like, how long you guys been together? How many of you people are Diablo veterans and ARPG veterans? You knew the community was going to be up in arms about these situations, yet you still made your game this way. It's like what are you guys doing? So that's the part. But
a lot of that shit, man.
Yeah, but a lot of it is high level stuff. A lot of it is high level.
I mean, coming from places like the Destiny community where they're constantly complaining Halo, like, I mean, I'm used to people not being happy with the game, with the product, no matter what the product looks like almost. So,
that's a whole different podcast that we can have. I can get into why people give Destiny hate. Is because they're not consistent.
Reason.
Yeah, they completely abandoned a whole half of their game and took away content from people. Yeah, I'm not ever going to forgive them for that. I literally do not care about ever playing their game again. I'm not coming back. I came back several times, and you do the same thing to me every time.
And when Steel says this, people don't know, chat. If you don't know, Steel's got thousands of hours. He's one of those people that put thousands of hours into Destiny.
It's annoying. I'm the same thing. I abandoned Destiny 1 and 2 and haven't gone back and forth. And I got probably not as much as you still, but that probably at least 1,100 hours between both of them, easy, bro. So I'm the same way. You know what I mean? So I agree. Yeah. I mean, obviously we can't let these studios just do it. You know what I mean? Like, some of these obvious things, we can't let those things slide. But overall, by and large, I still, it's a positive thing for the game and the IP. Hopefully things get back on track. Like you said, this is why it's hard to make video games. Even when you're an established team, there's more shit to play now than ever. Even a studio like Blizzard has to fight for gamers' attention. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's just the day and age we live in. I mean, where we got
doesn't.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sorry to interrupt, but I was gonna say it doesn't help. Real quick, it doesn't help when they do fireside chats and sound like they haven't played their game. Oh, we gotta remind ourselves to keep the game fun.
That is true. Yeah, they do say some they do say some dumb shit, man.
You want me to have confidence in you, but you sound like, or you put people on the screen that, oh yeah, we're from the Blizzard team for Diablo, but y'all don't know how to play the characters.
They can't explain. They can't explain well the mechanics behind what they should be experts in. Like yeah.
But then you have the devs from Path of Exile and the devs from Last Epoch come out and they're like, yeah, we're doing this, and the other thing. They're explaining everything really well, and it's just one of those things where you go somewhere and one person sounds like you know that they sound, and you can see that they got it together. The other person, they can talk that talk, and you go outside and they're driving a broke down 93 Toyota Camry with a spare tire. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, bro, like, what are we doing? I mean,
if
do
you
your thing, but you're supposed to be Blizzard.
if you want to if anybody here is passionate enough, right, and you want to see a group of devs who are building something that they know inside and out, go watch ExileCon, go watch the Path of Exile guys.
It's crazy.
These dudes literally are the old school devs that a lot of us grew up on, that were working for pennies on the dollar because they just passionately believed in their vision, and like they pour their heart and soul into it as gamers, and they like get it, like they understand. Go watch an ExileCon and go watch their interviews on stage as they're going through what they're creating, and they bring up their artists, and their artists are describing in detail what they do with the weapons and why they create them the way that they do. And then you got the mechanics devs behind the scenes, and they come up and explain what they're adding and what they're changing from Path of Exile 1. These are people energy. It's a different complete energy. Like Blizzard is one of those companies who has inherited a throne. Like a lot of the people in Blizzard are some of the originals, but a lot of them are brand new Blizzard people, and they never created the original stuff. Whereas the Path of Exile guys are still all the original people, right? And this is something that they built from the ground up themselves without any idea that it would be a main competitor to Diablo in their wildest dreams, right?
I do think part of that is see a need, fill a need.
Yes.
And PoE fills a need that Diablo doesn't necessarily need to fill. PoE is way more for a hardcore ARPG. Now, you don't know that before you jump in, but it's way more detailed, way more min-max oriented, build oriented, way deeper than probably Diablo ever will be. So I think that they can coexist. There's a space for both. And I think Diablo has to lean into that, right? Like obviously the things that need to be fixed, but
Blizzard looked over and got scared, right? They looked in the side mirror and it was closer than it appears, right? Because they were like, "Yo, wait!" And they actually took some things from Path of Exile, right? That's one thing that's the one thing that big AAA devs sometimes do lose, is they lose the mindset of the core fan base, and because they're going for a much bigger pie. We all know this, right? They're going for the casuals. They take away the magic that was the fanatical fan base, the hardcore that do care about those types of mechanics and do care about min-maxing and do care about the end game and do care about all having more complex systems in their game. You do lose that when you get big and commercialized. That is something that happens across multiple industries. It's not just video games that it happens in. It happens in music. It happens in a lot of different things, right? In different ways. But that's what you see from the Diablo team. They lost some of what Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 are some of the hardest Souls-like ARPGs you will ever play in your entire life. They are not for the faint of heart. They are not something you go into and just have a good time. Every dungeon was a grind in those. You were dying all the freaking time. That was the hardcore side of things, and it's gotten slowly but surely easier as they went after the masses. Whereas Path of Exile says, screw that. We're going to take everything you guys built and we're going to 10x it in difficulty and in complexity, and we're just going to make the game that we love, that we fell in love with when we played Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. And that's what happens.
But you can argue they're speaking to two different people as well.
Of
right?
course.
Like,
but you hear the Path of Exile talks, the rumble getting louder and louder as we get closer to
that's fine.
Path of Exile. Right. It's great because it forces competition and it pushes the Diablo team to do better. But that's where Diablo's kind of lost its edge, and Path of Exile picks up that edge, right? That's what happens. Yeah.
Got it. So it's a crazy dynamic, man. You know, I just always think that there's more than enough room, and I think that I just hope that this is why I listen to you. This is why I listen to Steel, get you guys' opinion, because I'm just naive to all of that. Like, you know what I mean? Not all of it, but like some of the history behind why people feel the way they feel, and some of these videos and some of the talk about like Diablo, and I'm like, that seems a bit harsh, but obviously, if you guys are
Yeah.
invested, you guys know where the franchise was previously to where it has come to now.
Mhm.
Obviously, you guys have that history, so that I don't have yet. Obviously,
Yeah, no, that's fine. But buckle up, get ready, because we're hopping in Exile too. So you better get ready, PT. So we are
I'm
going to
taking
get in
on
Exile
all.
too.
Well, listen, I don't have a rig yet, so we're gonna have to figure that out first. But
Yep.
I'm taking on all
You got time.
ARPGs that come to console for sure. I definitely want to.
You got time. We're hopping in Exile too. You're gonna be there, man. We're gonna learn together. We're gonna dive deep into that complex web that they've created over there. It's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, for sure. So Fuzz, man, jumping in the ass into this, brother. I mean, it's still ultimately. I know we've kind of got into some of the weeds about Diablo and how people feel about it, but by and large, this is still a good move. Maybe a little late. Some people would argue, right? But it's still a good move. We figured this was going to happen. It's going to provide a boost, I think, initially, but it's up to Blizzard to maintain that boost that the Game Pass provides.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I guess I'm more looking forward to like the expansion aspect.
Same.
Like right now,
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma has got my attention, and it's probably going to hold it for a good bit. I would like to get back to Helldivers 2 at some point, but I think Dragon's Dogma is kind of going to prevent that for a while. But Diablo, it's great that it's in Game Pass. That goes to show that everything they said at the business update is coming to fruition, kind of thing, and we can expect more things from ABK to make its way in there. It's just a matter of it taking time. Now I know there is a bit of issue because of the way it works on, at least on the PC side of things, with the whole BattleNet deal. They need to get that streamlined to some extent at some point, but just having it come to Game Pass is a nice step forward. But moving forward, get BattleNet streamlined and make sure anything that's coming out after or coming out new now, try to get it in the store as soon as possible. Launch day, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Have whatever you have to have on the back end worked out. But at some point I'll get back to Diablo, but it'll probably be after the expansion. But it was a great game, and then other great games came out, and it's like the backlog is just it's above and beyond what I was expecting for this time of year. Like I wasn't really expecting anything until like Hellblade, although I thought Hellblade 2 might be a little bit earlier this year, but there have been a number of titles that have come out in the meantime that's kind of like held me over, at least until now. But it's and Path of Exiles, it's funny because I remember before or just before Ibarra left Xbox the first time, he was playing a lot of that. So it's like, it's funny how he went to Blizzard, and I guess he took a lot of that, hands-on, because you really need to have devs that at least play the game that they make at some point. Like I understand you don't have to always have an enthusiast making the product that they're working on or use the product that they're working on, but it definitely helps and it shows a difference. Like I always think back to Red Storm for the Division, the first Division, because of how the Dark Zone was, and you could tell at least one of the guys, I think his name was Terry. He eventually left Red Storm, but you could tell he was all about that rogue life in the Dark Zone. So it's like having somebody like that working on that made sense, as opposed to somebody that's not really doing PvP or not really into the PvP aspect of things. And it I don't know. I just, that part of it, I don't watch the fireside chats because it seems like sometimes they kind of trip over their own feet and then they wind up making up for it in like the after action, patch notes or something. But I'll get more into it, or I'll get back on point when it comes to the expansion. And in the Path of Exiles, I'll dive into it, but I like the digestibility of Diablo a little bit more, at least from what I can see.
I agree.
Yeah, it just feels like it's more of my speed at this point in time. When I start playing Diablo like I was playing the Division,
it's overwhelming.
Then maybe I'll be more comfortable to hop over to Path of Exiles. But and it's just awesome time for ARPGs and just things in general. 1,000%. And And then getting stuff in Game Pass is always a big plus because I'm trying my best to save as much money with 2 kids going to college at the same time. So I need to save every penny I can.
For sure.
But yeah,
so
that's all I got.
No, great point. And obviously, you gotta the Diablo stuff can be, it's all preference at the end of the day. I see you in chat still cooking. Still can't help itself. No, but I see you. But no, it's interesting, right? Diablo, it's a fantastic game. Has a lot of promise. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody's here down on Diablo. I mean, at this point, like there's really nowhere they can go but up. You know what I mean? So and they seem to be trying to steer the ship in the right direction. There's some things that they need to work on, but a lot of it does hinge on this new DLC, this first big update that comes out. That's going to tell us a lot about like what they think of the future of that game, right? So I'm still excited for the game. I think we've all got tons of fucking hours in. I'd probably say collectively between us 4, I mean, I don't know I think we all probably easily got over 100 hours a piece in it, right?
I'm over 400 hours.
400. Oh shit! See, I'm probably at least 2, 3, probably 3.
I had 300 last year, so shit. I had over 300.
I'm probably 3, 4 at this point, my damn self. So yeah, we probably a couple thousand hours between the 4 of us. So we got receipts, people. So we not just we're saying this, but we're not just saying this. We've put a lot of time into the game. So
I can't even math right now. 15 days, 14 hours, 20 minutes.
Shit, that's
in what
400 in
Diablo 4.
So 15 you're at days? 15 days, so you're at 360. So you're approaching 4.
You're approaching 400. Yeah. I'm probably 20 days, if not a little more. So
that's a good bit for a game that you guys typically haven't played before. Like it's not like up y'all's alley. That's pretty damn good time for it. Again, that's my part of my point. Again, if this is a game that you're going to play for 100 hours around that time, maybe a little bit more, maybe this is one of the first times that you jumped into this, then you got plenty of content to play, right? You're going to learn the basics of the game. By the time you get to the end game, there's going to be so much that you have to deal with and figure out for yourself before you progress. It's for everybody else, for the fans, for the people that have been a part of the IP for some time. Those are the ones that are always going to be the vocal people and say, look, man, Diablo, what are y'all doing? Like, we want to play this game for longer. And you're telling us, and that's typically what Diablo's about. And you're telling us that this isn't enough. Now, I'm not talking about the people that don't sleep and no life the game and everything else. If you got 1,000 hours in Diablo, again, to Fuzzy's numbers, if you got that kind of time in Diablo, then you've obviously, I think that was beyond worth your value. So if you don't play it anymore after that, then it is what it is. But I'm sure, just like Fuzzy can attest, Division is a good example. If the Division 2 had bad end game, you're going to say something and be like, yo, why is my end game like this? Man, why is the Dark Zone worse than it was in the first game? What happened with that? Oh, now you guys aren't going to support it at all. Oh, now you don't want to balance it.
God, don't remind me.
Here we go. That's all of that's the thing.
No, you're 100% correct. Go ahead, Paul.
And I was just going to say, for the new players jumping into Diablo 2, the big thing, a lot of our hours was early on when the level grind was stupid. They fixed the experience. Like, though, that first opening day 1 launch and then the first season were grinds on the levels. Like, the experience, once you got up above level 50, was slow
part of
going.
That, too, is that they hypercharged the fucking beta and gave people massive amounts of XP. Right, we leveling up 6 times in like one fight.
And they brought that all back now. Yeah. So getting up there above level 50 and then getting to 100 is much easier than it was for the first launch and then the first season. They brought all that back. They went closer back to the beta with the loot and the experience and the level grind is nowhere near what it once was. A lot of that time that we all have in it is that first part where we were playing it out the gate because it was rough. Yeah. It was real rough.
Yeah. So you're definitely going to get in a more polished experience if you jump in now, for sure. If you weren't the early adopters, pre-beta like we were, us forward, then you probably missed all of that, which is not a bad thing. So,
No.
you jump in now, you're probably gonna have a better experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and turn the page on this a little bit too, man. Great topic. I wanted to get into something else too before we get to the chat. So we are going to take questions here. Looks like we're going to have plenty of time to do that. So if you guys want to start dropping your questions, you can do that. Let me go get some quick shout outs. I see a lot of cool people in here. Remake Station, Shane, Mishi. I see you, Umbra. We don't got no UE5 around here. Boy, what you doing here? we ain't talking about UE5 tonight. What you doing in chat, brother? No, I'm just playing. Shout out to Umbra. Shout out to Sanchez. Everybody hanging out. Mishi, Miyagi, appreciate you as well.
Umbra, what kind of PC you getting, brother? Put it in the chat. What do you got?
Yeah. Let us know. He's getting a Tony Stark's special.
Yeah, I see a lot of people getting PCs recently. Let's go.
Lordy.
I think that's the next progressive step. It's like, I mean, not knocking what we're hearing, because I'm a big fan of this whole Steam and Epic thing coming to the Xbox platform, but I think that'll be the easier way to get people to transition. Like, I know there are people that are like adamant, like, I'll never use a PC because of keyboard, blah blah blah. But it's like a lot of the games I'm playing on Steam are controller friendly. Like, and in some cases they only use control. Like Undisputed, there are no keyboard inputs for Undisputed. So yeah, I think this is the way things are going to progress, and there'll be, more PCs out there, maybe the equivalent of what the Steam box was supposed to be years ago. I think we'll see some of that stuff in the near future again. So,
tech has moved forward enough, and if Xbox is already Windows, right, Fuzz? I mean, you're not too far but a stone throw away. And if they figured it out, again, besides all the legal stuff, that's the only thing that would be a problem. Because if you do that, you are literally saying that you have access to everybody's games. How does PlayStation fight against that? Yeah. Again, I mean, the only way you really do is create your own store and then block Xbox having access to that store. But are you going to cut off your nose despite your face kind of thing? Because then you're going to have to talk to Epic about that, and Epic's going to be like, why would we do that? That doesn't make any. We want Game Pass. Why would we do that? Yeah. And there's just this whole other thing. So now, who ends up being on the opposite side of that conversation? Hey, PlayStation. Yeah, I don't want to cut deals, man. What's going on? So
I think Hiroki Totoki might be all for having a PlayStation app in the Xbox store. I mean, he sounds like he likes money, and that's always a good thing. Like,
he knows business, and the devs don't know business, according to him. So I think you might be right, Fuzz.
You might be right, Fuzz. Yeah.
Umbra. Yeah, you're doing all right, Umbra. Yeah, nice 4080 Super with the 99, 149, 900.
He spent the grip on it. Okay.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Nice.
Let's get into. I wanted to talk a little bit. I just want to give you guys a quick opinion. We ain't got to spend a ton of time on this. I kind of feel like I already got. We mentioned this when it was. I think Fuzz, you might have threw this in the DMs a couple of days ago when it happened. But talk a little bit about this Marvel Rivals thing, right? And it's very interesting, right? Obviously, we got this coming out. This is a very Overwatch-inspired Marvel game, obviously, right? And very interesting, right? Like, I don't know what to think about it. I still haven't really processed. You clearly see the Overwatch inspiration there. It's damn near 1-to-1 at like some parts. If you even just watching the trailer, the characters, some of the stages are very familiar. Overwatches as well, and maybe that's on purpose, but I just want to get you guys quick opinion. I want to start with you on this one, Steel. I want to get your opinion on this, bro. I don't know how much Overwatch you actually played, but is this a thing? Is it you what does this look like to you? You gonna get into this? Something you might try if there's some kind of beta or something?
I've played Overwatch, I've played Paladins, I've played there's a few others that are of that same ilk.
Battleborn.
Battleborn, I've played that as well. I've played all those.
Yeah,
and I really do like them. Even Gigantic, that's coming back out. That was another one that was a good fave of mine on the Xbox One. That I'm actually interested in trying again because I had fun with it, but it wasn't getting proper support at the time. So it's going to be interesting to see what it's like on the return. But as far as that, as far as that one goes, I'm interested in it. I mean, one, it's third person. That's already a dub for me over Overwatch. And I like the mechanics of Overwatch. I like how the game plays. The biggest detracting factor is I just can't get into it. You have to play for an extended amount of time to like unlock characters and stuff like that. And there's only certain characters that I want to play.
And there's always
Most
going
of
to
the
be the
time,
MTX question, right? There's always going to be that.
that's true. There's always going to be that. I'm not necessarily worried about on that front because again, I could just choose to be Iron Man and I'll be perfectly happy. If somebody chooses him, I have to pick a different character. But outside of that, I think it looks like it could be some good fun. Again, I like games like Smite as well. So any of those games, as long as it has a good gameplay loop, is what's going to attract me, honestly. But it's about balance as well. I think that's the thing that kind of upset me about a lot of multiplayer games. There is not a balance, right? You get into a random lobby. A lot of times I end up running with randos, which I don't necessarily mind because I'm always in competition more so with myself than anybody else. But you get in there with randos and the randos act like they've never played a game in their life before. And you're like, bro, I'm supposed to be like Golder, or like I'm supposed to be in this tier. Why does everybody else feel like they're not in this tier? What is going on?
So do you fear that it's going to have the same? So you know what's funny about this too, and sorry to cut you off, is that we always assume that because there's been previous examples that these companies would learn from the mistakes. And that's never the case still. Do you think we're going to have the same issues, the things that are plague Overwatch in this game? You think there's a good chance of that?
I would hope so. Just because, especially with the fall that Overwatch has kind of had with going into Overwatch 2 and it's essentially being Overwatch 1.5. But again, I haven't played Overwatch 2 enough to know that for sure. I only played it for probably 10 hours or so. And it felt the same. So, but, and especially with seeing games like the Gundam Evolution game not doing well, and it was trying to do something very similar to Overwatch. It essentially was Overwatch but with mechs. I would hope that they learn something. I would hope that they learn something from Overwatch. Again, it's really hard in those kind of games because what matters the most is balance. And if the game feels balanced one way over the other, or if it's overtuned, or certain characters feel stronger than others, that's what they're going to have to run into. Now, there are games like I believe it's Predecessor that just came out. It's another MOBA. It's on Xbox right now. It has that similar style. You have different characters, different abilities, and stuff like that. Although they're not similar games, it does give a good example of. I think it's a pretty decently balanced game, and I think that's a good example of how you balance characters with powers and the objectives and how it plays out and everything like that. And since you're using superheroes, where like in Overwatch you have more like guns and melee, that's gonna be the other thing that plays into it, because like how does that work? You got Hulk in there. Is Hulk gonna be like of a certain level? Are you gonna feel strong as the Hulk, or is that gonna be balanced?
Is he just a tank, right? Is he just a tanky guy? Exactly. Yeah.
But there's a lot of examples that we can kind of pull from. I hope that the devs are looking across all spectrums and are like, all right, we're going to take all these different things and put it into here. It seems like it's getting some bad press right now. Like people are kind of down on it. But I want to at least get into the beta, see what it's feeling like. That's one of those games where you want to try it out to see how it feels for yourself before you just make an overall decision. So I'm excited for it. I like Marvel for what it is. I'm not overly judgmental. Although I'm familiar with a lot of the comics, I stopped taking them serious after Iron Man release, and I fell in love with that movie. And I know that movie does not follow the basis of what I expect out of Iron Man, but that doesn't matter. It was still godly. So I'd take it not as serious, but looks cool.
Well, the crazy thing is for me is that I have kids. Both of my kids play Overwatch 2 quite a bit, right? So I see them and I see the complaints about the game, and still some of the same complaints about the game that existed when the game first came out, right? The whole idea of this Overwatch 2, it doesn't really feel like a 2, right? And this didn't for me, and this is just the initial impression still. Maybe just a little different than what you were saying. I didn't feel it was distinct enough for me. Like it didn't really separate. And once again, maybe the next trailer, when they show more abilities and maybe a deep dive into the characters and maps, maybe I'll get more of this is something a little. It felt very, very much Overwatch, like almost a 1-to-1, like in certain instances, like outside of just the fact that they're Marvel superheroes, right? or villains and superheroes. Like, to me, that was the biggest defining distinction in the trailer, was just that it was Marvel doing an Overwatch-like game. So I'm just gonna need to see a bit more for me to get excited.
Fact.
You know what I mean? That's just me. And once
I
again,
agree.
everybody's a little bit different. So Pong, Pong, I know you don't do the you don't really do the superhero thing, but just anything out of this for you?
Yeah, no, it looks fun enough to download and try. It's gonna be free to play. Again, no risk. I love free to play. This is why I love free to play. This is why I've never had a problem with it. I know some people really hate free to play games, but again, for somebody like me, I'm gonna download it. I'm gonna check it out because again, it'll be a good time hopping with Steel and Fun Spec Family and whoever else, and just having a good time with it. Yeah. If it's fun, right? And I am sad there's only one X-Men represented out the gate, which is Storm.
That is kind of crazy.
That's weird.
Gambit is perfect for that.
Bro,
Cyclops would have been perfect.
All of them.
Have they given a list of characters yet, or no?
Yes, 12 of them, and we got almost a full list. I believe Punisher's in there.
So how many total? Just 12? Just
12.
With?
12, I think,
just
is
12 to start. Yeah,
12 to start. Loki's in there and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of sad about that, but does it look fun? Of course it looks fun. I love the art direction. The art style looks awesome. I think that looks super dope, man. This is definitely...
Isn't it kind of cell shaded kind of a look? Is it cell shaded? Not quite.
It looks like Overwatch. It has that Overwatch look.
Yeah, it's got the Overwatch, but they definitely comic book. They definitely brighten the colors. Like they made the characters themselves kind of glow on screen. Like, I just like the look of it. So and I've played some of these games, right? I've never been huge into them, but I certainly have played them. Like I said, I love Battleborn, have played some Overwatch in my time for sure. And the third person view, like Steel said, is always cool too. So I'm definitely interested. As a non-superhero guy, I definitely want to check out a couple of the characters and see how they play. They look interesting to me. And we'll see if it's good. I mean, again, we as Steel said, that's the most important thing. They're up against a lot of competition. It's very difficult to break into that space, but when you got the Marvel IP, again, you've got one of those advantages I talk about. So if they just, pretty much look over at Overwatch and take a lot, and a lot of people aren't even comparing.
Man, that almost never happens, Paul.
Right. But they've been comparing a lot of the levels, and a lot of the levels are similar. So if they just kind of pulled a lot from Overwatch and you throw, Marvel skins on top of it, well, shit, you got a good chance, man, because you got all the comic book fans in. And then obviously where they can go from there, unlimited expansion potential with new characters, right? So that's the cool part. If they do hit it with this, they can bring in everybody, right? So, and the fact that they got Spider-Man up front too is going to be a huge W, because obviously we know what Spider-Man does to people. People love to play Spider-Man. Thought it was a great showing, and looking forward to checking out when it finally drops.
All right, cool. That was a lot more than I expected out of you. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, because you usually I'm not gonna sit up here and tell a lie on live stream, but you usually not super into the superhero stuff right away.
But this type of game to hop in with everybody else and kind of have a good time with, I'm cool with that. Like that's good. I mean, we're good. So
for sure. Okay. Curious to hear your opinion, Fuzz. Once again, it's something that I don't recall. I don't remember us getting like a pre-announcement or hearing a leak about this game or anything. Nothing, right? This was kind of left field for all of us. So interesting, right? Obviously, Overwatch a huge inspiration. You can see it all over the trailer, right? Not necessarily a bad. Could be if you're an Overwatch fan. Maybe you see some things already you don't like. But what do you think, Fuzz? You gonna be playing free to play?
I mean, I'll probably give it a try since it is free to play. But Overwatch isn't my jam. So the interest level isn't quite that high. And because of the arena shooters, kind of some of them doing well, some of them not doing well, I hope hope for the best for these guys. The Marvel characters should hopefully carry that through. But it just feels like I wouldn't say an outdated idea, but it's like one that, like I said in the chat, it was like, this probably should have come out like 5 years ago. But it's not really my type of game, so I don't really have that much more of an opinion other than I'll give it a try, and if it hooks me in the first 30 minutes or less, then great. If it doesn't, it will be uninstalled. Simple as that. But it's great that we have a Marvel game coming. It's great that they're trying things like this. I would almost prefer like a what was it, like Marvel versus Capcom kind of game kind of deal, more of a like a fighter game. I think would have probably been more my speed or more appealing, but you know, Marvel's got to make their money on these licenses while they can, and people want to, you know, grab them up, and hopefully these studios, you know, make enough to you know, either make a sequel or be able to make their next passion project kind of thing. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. That's way more positive than I thought I was gonna get out of you three. I'm dead ass serious. Chad, I'm not even sitting up here lying.
It's been negative, honestly, though.
You think so?
What I've seen people talk about it.
I haven't. So this is the funny thing, Phil, and this is why I'm glad we're talking about this. Like, I haven't seen all that negative stuff you're talking about. I've seen some things here and there, but what have you been hearing? What you been seeing? I mean,
it's a clone. It's just another Marvel slop game put together. And there's no inspiration to this game. The biggest thing that people are mad about is that Galactus is a female. It's just little nitpicks and stuff like that. The thing about Overwatch is that once you try to do something that's like it, you're going to be criticized and ostracized potentially for it, off rip, right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing that I have seen from people. But again, it's just going off of what I saw. I was just like, not saying it's going to be the world's greatest game in the world, but it looked like it could be some fun. So
yeah. And Mishi, you talking my language, don't know why it hasn't happened. Pong, a Marvel ARPG would cook.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously. I said that when Diablo.
Yeah. Like, that's why hasn't it happened yet? Like, what the hell?
Well, right. It's just like, why don't we have a new Star Wars MMO after all these decades? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, common sense in this industry sometimes it's just like, I don't get it.
See, and the Shine Films corrected it. He says it's Galactus's daughter. People are just ready to complain.
She's canon, by the way. She does exist.
But that's why I just don't care about. Just make sure it's a good character. Make sure it represents. Even if they made Black Panther a female, like, I get that you can be like, oh well, the comics aren't like that. As long as it's a good character, then who cares? I mean, and if there was a female Black Panther in the story, but it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm not always critical about those things.
So we got to be careful. Are we giving that kind of grace though? Right? Because I mean, it depends, right? We don't get that kind of grace for a lot of other games. So, like, if we gonna extend that type of grace to a game like Marvel Rivals, we got to do that to everything, right? Because I mean, some people aren't wrong, because there are like references that we can directly go to when it comes to comics, right? So some people aren't necessarily wrong, but I agree with you. Like, some people are just, you know, they're missing the grass for the trees kind of a situation, right? With some of this.
Well, that's why I say that maybe it is just a me thing. And again, it could be the way that I raised, it could be just my thought process. I don't overly criticize those things.
Yeah, I'm the same
not
way.
going to be like, oh man, Punisher's a girl all of a sudden. As long as she still has the same attitude, the character's carried the same way, like, that's what I care more so about. If you lose the essence of the character, it's not that character anymore. Now, again, if we want to get into the semantics of it, that's fair. Like, I mean, I think that's well worth a conversation, and we should definitely talk about that. Just for me personally, I don't always over criticize it. It's just, of course, you want in games like this, at least, where it's just like it's a fun whatever game. You know what I mean? It's not like a Spider-Man where all of a sudden Mary Jane is the best killer in the universe. Like, come on, bro. What are we doing? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. No, facts. You're right. Anything else before we get into some chat questions? Pong, Buzz, anything else about Marvel? Anything? So just I'm gonna ask y'all a question before we wrap up the Marvel Rival stuff. What would be something you want to see out of the game, Pong? Like, just you, even not being the biggest like Overwatch player, what was something between it being a Marvel game, it having superheroes? What's something you'd like to see as far as gameplay?
Nothing. I mean, again, as far as gameplay, I just want to see the powers for each character be represented properly and no bullshit, right? No guns being pulled out by Storm, like, you know, just stuff like that. In this type of game that you can absolutely have the powers being used properly with this type of open kind of battlefield situation. I just want all the characters represented well. And again, for me personally, just more X-Men. Again, Jean Grey's got to be there. I don't know why Jean's not there. Give me Dark Phoenix. Like, that's my selfish side. I just want more X-Men, but
that stuff is coming, right? I mean, it is a free to play. I'm sure that's on the
that's what I'm saying.
board.
It's the expandability of this game is unbelievable. If it hits, like they've got so many characters to pull from. It's stupid, right? They could do so much. But yeah, no, I just think that I just want the characters represented well. And again, it's just got to be built. I don't have high expectations because it's not like I'm a Overwatch super fan or even that type of hero shooter type of fan like that. So for me, it's not. It's I just want it to be fun, man. And if it's fun and some of the characters look cool and they play really well, and I'm like, oh shit, this is kind of like a comic book, like straight out of the comic book Overwatch. Yeah, you could probably have me interested if a couple of the characters I jive with. So that's
honestly, Pong. Why can't they just give us another fucking Marvel Ultimate Alliance?
Right. Like, really, at the end of the day,
let me just get that, bro.
Again, as that is my favorite, probably my favorite superhero game of all time. And like they had everybody, they had X-Men, they had Jean Grey in it, like they had everything, like, and it was perfectly
Diablo
well
style.
done. I loved that game, and to do it nowadays, I know Nintendo got it, but like seriously, like no, I'm like serious, like current gen hardware, not Nintendo current gen hardware with all the bells and whistles, like the way they could do the powers and how it would look on screen, and make it straight from the comic books. Like you could have that whole art style down. Like, it'd be so freaking dope, man. I would be all over it. Yeah. 100%.
Buzz, anything you want. Now, once again, you're not the biggest Overwatch player, and you may not have very high expectation for the game, but ultimately, anything you see in the gameplay, just the quick trailer, anything you want out of that game, anything you'd like to see?
Create a mode or something along the lines of like Halo Forge. Turn it into a football game or something, or like a wrestling game. I don't know. That would be about the only thing I could think of. Would be
Fuzzy's like put cars in it.
Put cars in it.
Exactly. Make it a kart racer or something,
Gran Turismo's gonna make its way into that Marvel Rivals game at some point for Fuzz. Lord have mercy. We get some cars in here some damn way. But go ahead.
No, but I just have some sort of like make your own mode or something. That would be about the only thing that would probably catch my attention and something I'd probably tinker around with. But outside of that, that's it.
Okay, no, pretty fair. And Steel, anything you'd like to see, brother?
In that game specifically, again, I just want the powers to be well represented, good gameplay, good mechanics, well balanced, and other than that, that's all I would want. Again, with games like that, Marvel IP seems to be superhero IP in general seems to be very touch and go. No matter what you do, it doesn't seem like you could do it right. Again, that's the main thing. Hopefully these devs know what they're stepping into, and as a free-to-play game, understand what your competition is doing and try to make sure that you outdo your competition. You being a newer IP, you could be seen as an indie. You can definitely carve out your own mark like Paladins has and all these other Overwatch clones have done. You can definitely carve out your own way. Again, Marvel IP will carry you a long way. Definitely. And so we'll see what ends up happening. But that'll be the main thing I want. Balanced game. So
same. I've Overwatch veteran, played a ton of that. Don't play really Overwatch 2 at all. So balance, like you said, good maps, balanced characters, obviously a roadmap. Because the thing about those games, people don't understand, you need content pretty quickly. Because the gameplay, it's not a whole lot of like deviation in those games, right? The objectives stay pretty, much the same. I don't know if they're gonna have different game modes either, right? Like,
we don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, so if you don't have like 3, 4, 5 different game modes, the gameplay loop grows pretty stale pretty quickly. So you need content. So that's got to be something that they talk about. Obviously, hopefully having the Marvel IP and having characters gives them that time, because I think people will give them a little bit of extra grace because they are, because it is Marvel. So we'll see, but it has to be a decent game, and it's free to play. So they don't have that problem of, okay, you overpriced, you made the game $60 when in fact it's probably worth 30, right? So they don't have that issue. We'll see though, because I think it's going to go one or two ways. I don't really think it's going to be an in between. Steel.
I hope that they give. I would like them to do some Overwatch story mechanics like they do for the characters.
That would be cool.
That would be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
you
Blend
like
some
a
Midnight Suns in
storyline
there?
of some
Yeah,
sort?
yeah, exactly. I would like to see some of that brought. I don't know if they'll do it because it's free to play, obviously. But if they want to represent those characters, like to take from Overwatch to create some kind of background and to give us some really cool animation, shorts for each character, I think that would be pretty fucking cool too. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think we're going to just transition into taking some questions, man. We got about 15, 20 minutes ish here for the show. You guys have been rocking out with us, man. Let me do some more quick shout outs. Shout out to Giant Mess, Shine Films in here. Obviously Umbra, like I said earlier, everybody's just hanging out with us. You guys are fucking awesome, man. Appreciate you all, but go ahead and just drop a few questions in chat right now, man. We just going to rock out with you guys till we wrap the show up. But anything else that I might have missed? What else going on this week, Pong, Fuzz? What else we got that we didn't get into? I'm sure there's some other stuff.
Oh, there is. I mean, Shane G brought up in the chat. He asked us if we were going to talk about the article about Phil, the opinion piece from VGC. I mean, I guess Steele and I covered pretty heavy this morning, but I don't know. Did you read it?
I didn't read it, brother.
Okay,
I didn't read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to read the whole thing. It's pretty long.
Quick breakdown.
But really the title kind of says it all. Like, hold on, let me bring it back up here again real quick. Let me find it here.
Real quick, PTK, as Pong gets that ready. Did Phil Spencer kill Xbox?
Did he? No. I mean, currently I can still go turn mine on and it works and everything's still functioning.
Well, supposedly Phil. So how do you feel about this, PTK? Phil was once the savior of Xbox, but he is now the doom and gloom for Xbox. He is why it's failing.
I've got it here. So Phil, the title says it all. Phil Spencer, long cast as Xbox savior, may be remembered as the man who killed it.
Okay, we don't even need to get into the article. I've got everything I need.
and then I'll add the subtitle to this as well. Hit points. Now that's what they title their opinion pieces. Whatever. Now that all his big bets have failed, Spencer is turning to corrective measures.
Wow. It's an opinion piece.
It's a piece of shit. Is
it's
what
wrong,
it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wrong opinion, but it's an opinion.
Mm-hmm. I just, you know what the funny thing is, just to kind of pop the cork on this, man. Do people forget how bad 13 and 14 was?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that long ago, people. Like, I was around. 2013 is the sole reason why I have a Twitter account. That what happened in 2013 at Xbox is the whole reason why this YouTube and this podcast exists. Like, it was that bad for Xbox, at least for me. So like, I just like, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about? But go ahead, Pong.
No. Phil, he goes on. I'll just read this opening part because it gives all the context you kind of need here. So Phil Spencer spoke to the press at GDC last week, offering some context / spin on Microsoft's recent maneuvers while dropping a few now customary hints about the Xbox division's future plans. The writer, let me credit the man, Nathan Brown, says, I take one issue with this. I am no longer sure Xbox has much of a future to speak of. Moreover, I think Phil Spencer, for so long cast as Xbox's savior, may ultimately be remembered as the man who killed it.
That's insane.
Where's his hit piece on Jim Ryan, the guy that got fired the other day or finally left the other day?
So what's crazy about this is that, and Abdul, you summed it up perfectly. Phil inherited that company in probably the worst state it had ever been up until that point. Like, Donnie D did a number before he took that check from Zynga, I believe it was. It was a mobile fucking company he went to or something right after. He got big bag and left.
I think he only lasted like a couple of years there.
Yeah, he didn't even last there very long. He's just as bad as Phil Harrison has. Everywhere he goes, it's death and destruction to games and developers. But anyway, Phil inherited something that, like, there was nobody else that could navigate that. Like, there was nobody outside of Phil that could navigate that company to where it's currently at. If you told me in 2015 they would have Gamepass, 30 million subscribers, the company financially would be just as profitable as it probably has almost ever been. They have as many IPs and devs, 40 plus developers. Activision is now first party. Bethesda is now first party. I would have slapped you. I'd have been like, get out of my face. Like, there's no way I would have believed that. And for us to legitimately be able to have that conversation tells me everything I need to know about Phil. Now, listen, I'm not saying he's a saint and everything he's done is right. What I do know, it's a hard fucking job. And you have to make tough decisions, and a lot of times they're not going to be favorable to the bulk of people that you're making the decisions for. So, and I just want to give Phil a little bit of grace on some of these things, because he's had to navigate a very unusual climate. You know what I mean? In gaming, the acquisitions, and nobody's ever had to navigate through a $70 billion deal. Who's ever had to do that before, Paul?
But PTK, according to Nathan Brown, instead of doing a $70 billion deal for ABK, they could have made 230 AAA exclusives instead.
Yeah.
That's the math. He literally used that math in here, bro.
Yeah, because that's how games work.
And he didn't write who was gonna make 230 fucking AAA games. He failed to mention that part. Right?
And what kind of time period?
Yeah.
So even if he started in 2017.
Well, we could cut production down to every 2 years, Steel.
Right? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Can't just have Platinum Games work on it.
Yeah. Or no, we're gonna organically grow 50 new studios like Sony.
Yeah. And they're all within 3 or 4 years. All 50 of them will be ready to drop a game. Yep.
Right, and then every 2 years after that. So yeah.
Yep. That's how it works. Absolutely. God damn. See, I don't even go ahead, Pong. Take this.
I mean, again, what I said says it all, and obviously you can tell by our sarcasm that that's how we feel about this article. And we had big conversations about this throughout the week, and Steele and I had another one this morning about this. It really comes down to, I'll lay out my points and I'll pass it to you all, and you guys can just kind of jump in here. You don't even need to read the article, PTK. It's not necessary. You kind of get the gist. This is another article in a long list of articles with this slant, right? Phil is never going to get the credit that he's due from a lot of the journalists out here. They are going to try to rewrite history whenever he walks away from Xbox, especially if the industry is evolving the way that, Xbox sees it is. PlayStation has talked about it is, and people are moving more to that third party kind of, digital age. They're still not going to give him credit for the foresight. Really, it comes down to, for me personally, and this is just my personal opinion, just like Nathan Brown's here, is that Xbox isn't the cool kids, right? There aren't the cool kids in the club. So therefore, they get this slant all the time. When I talk about Xbox tax, this is what I talk about. Because like you guys pointed out, and everybody's pointed out, where are the articles about Jim Ryan? Where are the articles about the turmoil within Sony? There's been one company recently closing studios and canceling games. And that is PlayStation. Okay. Microsoft had layoffs. Sony laid off the same percentage of people. Okay. This is the industry as a whole. Hiroki Totoki and Jim Ryan both publicly have said the same things as Phil says. And my main point in a lot of this is that a lot of these people, a lot of these journalists, a lot of the fanboys out here like to point out, well, Xbox is still in third place. And as I've always stated, I didn't like when Phil waved the white flag on the console war. I would love to see them compete one for PlayStation. I would love to see the old traditional ways hang on while they go do other things. But that's not what's happening, so let's not even talk about that. The facts are the facts. If you flip-flop Xbox and PlayStation, and you give Xbox the same console numbers that PlayStation currently has, there is not going to be any different talk, because Jim Ryan, the head at the time of the what people consider the most premium experience in the console market, the one with the selling record numbers of consoles, was out here already telling you all it wasn't sustainable. So what would change if Xbox was number one in the console market? Absolutely zero. They'd be saying the exact same things that Sony is currently. This isn't sustainable. We need other revenues, right? We need other streams of revenue. So these types of articles just want to downplay the impact, and they always do this, that Phil has had on Xbox. They want to downplay that the innovation that Xbox is currently doing within the games industry, whether you agree with it or not. You can't say that they're not innovating and doing things a different way. Whether it all works out, whether they've read the tea leaves, fuzzy tea leaves correctly, we'll find out. But the facts are they are trying to change the game, because the old way is dying on its vine. And this is not just Xbox because they're in third place doing this. It is because the industry is going through a massive change right now. And we're hearing from other players, but we're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore that, and we're going to write an opinion piece, which is just ridiculous. Again, I threw out legitimately numbers that he was saying in here.
Crazy.
To say that that Phil is killing Xbox. Xbox is not going anywhere. What we know Xbox to be as a traditional console maker and first-party publisher of games might be changing, but Xbox is not going anywhere. In fact, they are doubling and tripling down. In fact, they are creating more hardware R&D right now than they ever have before, because it sounds like they're not only going to have another generation of boxes at least, but they're also going to start making handhelds included. So they are doing more to be around. And oh, by the way, again, without getting into specific numbers, they happen to be one of the world's largest revenue producers as a publisher of video games, both first party and third party. Oh, by the way, ABK just pushed them over the top. Okay, so again, Xbox isn't going anywhere. Phil is going to walk away, and Xbox is going to be in a whole different position than they were when he took over. And that is going to be due to Phil and his team convincing Satya and Microsoft that they deserve to be in the video game industry still. And there was a reason for Microsoft Corp. In fact, Phil probably has done something that very few people ever could. He took Xbox from a cute little side project at one of the world's largest corporations and turned it into a main pillar of that corporation, a $2 trillion corporation. But that's a failure. That's again, you don't have to like how he's done it. You don't have to like the business side of it. You don't have to like where the industry is going. I'm not here to talk about any of that. We're talking about Phil's legacy. Phil, as the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, has done exactly what he set out to do from the business side of things, and that has turned Xbox into a huge profit for Microsoft and a huge portion of their shareholders' stock prices. That is what his job is to do, and he talked about that in the interview with Polygon this week. He doesn't have he doesn't have the luxury of just, I just want to create for fun. He's running a business, folks, and we always talk about this. This is a business. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. This is big money. Without the big money, they wouldn't be here. Phil did exactly what he's had to do, and he's made it successful. Again, if it's different for you as a gamer, as a consumer, and you don't agree with it, I can hear that. I feel a lot of the same way you guys do. But just from a business standpoint, the man's legacy is cemented. He took a sinking ship and not only made it float again, but made it sail into clear waters. So clear, in fact, that they found treasure, right? And that's exactly what he has done, okay? Which not many people can ever claim to do in this industry. He did it, and he did it that well that he has stuck around longer than most people in leadership positions in this industry do. So again, his legacy is cemented. These opinions pieces are nonsense. They are going to continuously downplay him. They will continuously downplay Xbox because a lot of these people have never wanted Xbox to succeed in the first place. They have never wanted Xbox to lead in this industry, even in innovation. They want to sit around and wait for Nintendo or PlayStation, two of the beloved companies in this industry, to say the magic words, it's time for us to change. But when Xbox does it first, God, what is Xbox doing? Xbox is being killed off by the man who resurrected it from the freaking dead. He is killing it off. No, he's not. He's made it stronger than ever before. As he said, he's making sure that Xbox is going to be around for decades to come. I've said my piece now. I've done this plenty of times this week, but I want to hear you all thoughts. Obviously, Steele, give us a synopsis of what we talked about this morning from your side of things, man.
For me, I've always had the overall perspective on what Phil has done. And I didn't really look deeper into a lot of the things that he involved with Xbox. And then the Power On documentary gave me a lot of perspective, and made me think about some of the experiences that I had over the years, because there was always this negative aspect to Xbox that people had just as a brand, mainly because it was under Microsoft. What is Microsoft doing in console hardware? Oh man, well, Xbox was made popular because of online gaming. 360, same thing. They carried that mantle and had other good games. And then when you get into the one generation, and you run into all the issues that they ran into, again, being a bit ahead of the digital curve, there was only one person that was going to be able to bring the ship out of the harbor, unlike other ships in real life that seemingly just hit bridges. Anyway, that's a whole different point.
Whoa.
But was it too early? It's my fault.
Oh man.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody.
Did Phil lose 2 minutes of the black box though, right before it hit?
He might have. But no, so it only makes sense that it would be somebody who's been there from the beginning, because the other thing that people can't just overlook is that this isn't somebody that was hired through some different company. And no, Phil has been with Xbox and Microsoft for quite some time. So it only made sense for somebody that actually understood the business and has a passion for it, as we continue to find out that he does as a gamer in totality. To see him kind of bring this to fruition. And I want to remind people that there's nobody else currently who is showing the way or paving the way for the future. Everything moving forward is literally questionable. The difference between previous generations and this generation is that we could base those previous ones out by what came before. Oh, it's probably going to play out just like this, right? Oh, it's Xbox and PlayStation, which I will continue to stand on this hill that I feel it's more embarrassing for Sony to allow themselves as a hardware company for Xbox to even be competition. Because the one thing that the Power On documentary painted very clearly is that Microsoft had nobody to do hardware manufacturing for them. And if they did not have Halo, they would not be where they are today. And who did that? The people behind it, somebody had some faith in it. Somebody had some innovation behind the scenes. Who supports that? That dream? Phil does. Phil sees it. He believes in it.
Go ahead. Real quick. No, real quick. Just real quick. In the Power On documentary, was it not true that the Xbox team had to steal the Windows code? Correct?
Yes.
Because they were
yes. And Seamus talks about that all the time.
Mm-hmm. And
Seamus Black.
Wait, where's the Windows team under now? And where's the Surface team under now?
Xbox.
What a change of fortune.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see one of the biggest points that I could bring up too. It's crazy to see the amount of money. Microsoft is not a dumb company. If there's one thing that you could just look at Microsoft over the years for, you can just say they're not dumb. Sure, do they make the right choices all the time? No. But again, when you're a top dog, there's not many other people that you can look to and say, oh, well, maybe that's a better choice. Again, PlayStation 2 sold as well as it did, because of the CD drive, because of the DVD player. PlayStation 3 is the exact same thing. The only reason Xbox did as well as it did is because of the whole network and multiplayer side of things, which Phil is right now going right back to. He said, there has to be more than just these first party titles that we give you guys. We have to give you an ecosystem. We have to give you ongoing games. We got to give you a mass of games. That's why you go from 5 studios all the way up to 2 guys. Like, just imagine that. Second and third party deals in 5 studios since you created a console. and you've been living off of 3 Gears, Halo, and Forza, which
Pretty much.
arguably and debatably, I would debate anybody with this, those 3 games are better than any game and have more longevity than any other game that other platforms have released. Point blank, period. Gears is in its 5th game, about to be 6. Actually, technically, you got Gears Tactics, you got Gears Judgment. It's in its 7th, about to be 8th game. And you think that that game is supposed to have the same traction or the same love that I had for it when there was no other game that was like that during the time? In today's era, you think everybody else is going to have that same love? No. So you got to do things differently. There has to be more. And I think those are the things that Phil is seeing and looking at. And he said in the interview, he was like, and I'm paraphrasing, he would love for this to just to be an easy, straightforward job, but it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Sure, you want to do everything right for the consumer, but if I don't show Microsoft that this was worth it, continue to show them that this is worth it, then what's going to happen? You think I'm going to just forfeit my job just because, I want to do the right thing? And I still think that he's doing the right thing in his eyes. Mm-hmm. And again, like y'all brought up, I don't see anybody else that would have put Xbox where they are currently outside of Phil. I haven't seen anybody else in the industry, and everybody else who could have, like a Peter Moore, for an example, is not in the industry. He's not in gaming anymore. Mm-hmm. And he had his time. He did his thing with the 360. So, and again, and that's another point. Phil was under Peter Moore. So you don't think excellence breeds excellence? Mm-hmm. Working with what you got in the moment? You got 40 studios, 30, you got almost 40 studios now that you're working with since 2017, and people expect when a dev cycle's between 5 to 10 years that a game should have came out by now. That's why, and then we just had COVID for 2 years. Regardless of how you feel about that, like, what are we talking about? That's the unrealistic expectation that frustrates me about gamers, because they're not seeing the overall picture. Jim Ryan, as an example, said all these great things, but even he said that their gamers aren't enough, and he was ostracized for it, and he's obviously being moved out. Wow, when Jim Ryan's getting ready to move out, now Factions is canceled. Now the Spider-Man games multiplayer is canceled. Now this thing is canceled. Now we got all these studios that are under this umbrella that seemingly can't get it together, but we're worried about Halo Infinite and what Phil has or has not done for it.
I saw the question, and shout out to whoever put it up earlier. Sorry to cut you off, Steel. And somebody asked, Sony still has a multiplayer problem. Mm-hmm. Helldivers 2 doesn't fix everything.
Nope.
So it's fair to ask questions and criticize Phil, but there's no other person that could have. There's no denying that he's navigated Xbox from where it was at to this. There's no way any of us could have saw. Yeah, there's no way any of us could have saw Xbox currently where it's at. I mean, like I said, you couldn't tell me that 6, 8, 9 years ago that they would have 40 plus studios and they'd be the single largest publisher on the planet. Like, you couldn't tell me that. Like, that's a hell of and he's handled it, mind you, with style and grace. Like, because Phil's been criticized for things that he don't even got control over. Like, we do not give the level of criticism to these CEOs like people do Phil. Like, I don't understand. He seems to be under a different microscope than everybody else.
Because he comes down, and I've had this theory, is because he comes down from the ivory tower so much, because he purposely puts himself down amongst the people, right? Whereas the other CEOs stay up above it all. And when you do that, I've always said it cuts both ways. It's great. I love it, right? I love it as a gamer. I love it as as somebody who appreciates what Phil does and when he talks. But at the same time, when you're down amongst the people so much and you take yourself out of the ivory tower, it gets easier and easier for people in the mainstream media to criticize you, because you don't have that air about you anymore. Oh, it's just Phil. Oh, look, Phil's talking again. Oh, look how we can spin this. Look how we can talk about him. Whereas the Jim Ryans of the world, and the Bowsers of the world rarely speak. And when they do, it's only in certain very carefully selected places, and so they keep that air about them. Whereas Phil, it's just Phil. It's Phil the gamer. It's Phil the gamer. He's just yeah, sure, he's got the title, but he's just a normal dude. So we can talk about him how we want to talk about him, right? That's kind of the double edge that you do get. That's just my theory on it, but that's what I've seen consistently ever since I've started
You
really
might be
paying
right.
attention.
I don't think that's too far off. I think you might. There's absolutely some truth. He does hang out with the quote unquote commoners, for lack of a better term. Does he gets the same type of energy from?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. He makes himself way more available than any of those other CEOs. Those guys are looked at as almost like you know what I mean? Like there's a certain air about them.
Royalty.
They don't,
yeah.
They don't come
That's
down.
what it is, because they've been in the business for a while, right?
You notice that the Xbox executive have kind of scaled back their interactions to some extent. Like after the business update, I've noticed that it is a bit quieter than it once was. Yes, they'll do interviews. Yes, they'll do podcasts as far as their own podcasts, but there's not the interaction that there was before the dust up. Let's just say, but they are still at least being somewhat transparent, more so than their competitors. So there is that. But I think they are kind of learning that, like you said, it cuts both ways. And right now it's kind of cutting deep to some extent, because from my side of things, I kind of see it as he was probably given a leash, and it's being pulled a little prior to everything reaching like his ultimate vision. Like that ABK deal took way longer than I think anybody expected. Like had that deal gone through like within the year's time, or like within the window that they originally thought, I think we wouldn't see some of the things that may seem like out of character for Xbox as soon as we did, because Call of Duty, let's just be frank about it, would have probably gotten them those numbers or the whatever stats they were looking for out of Game Pass, or hardware numbers and things like that, without having it, have a little bit of a lull. Like I think they would have had a lot more padding, and that would have probably kept like Amy Hood off his neck a bit more. Not saying that she's anywhere near like what Morrison was, over Phil in the early days, but I feel that there is kind of like, okay, you've been given this amount of time. We need to see some more improvement. Shareholders are wanting their 5 to 15% improvement, year over year, and we're seeing like 3 to 4% kind of range. We need to get those numbers up, or find other ways to get the numbers up. You figure it out, kind of thing. But yeah, he's definitely not the killer of Xbox. I would say, as somebody that came from PS3 over to PS4 and then went over to Xbox, I would say, if anything, if it wasn't for him, there probably wouldn't be an Xbox, or it would be under different ownership, whether it be Amazon or whoever. But like I like what Steele brought up as far as like the timing of like how long it takes to make a game. It's like people magically forget when it comes to PlayStation games, because they don't have any games, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's probably because they didn't really have, they canceled the ones that would have been ready, and they take a while to make. But they seem to forget that on the Xbox side. It's like, yeah, you buy a studio in 2018 and games take 5 to 6 years, unless it was one that they had already were working on, which a lot of those had previous obligations to be multi-plat or whatever the case was. And, because of Microsoft being the big bad guy under, Bill Gates back in the day, they can't be like, screw these contracts, rip. We'll just do what we want to do, because they get flack for stupid stuff. Can you imagine if they went, all aggressive and was like, yeah, it's ours now, tough titty kind of thing? I think they'd still be talking about articles of how, Xbox is mean and bad on gaming because they've stolen games away from gamers type of thing. And they even try to do that even after Starfield was only mentioned for Xbox. Like, well, if there was a PlayStation copy and they stole it, like they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. But no, I would say he's the one that kind of saved the sinking ship that Matt Trick left to some extent. But business is business, and shareholders are. I mean, yes, you would like Pong was saying earlier, you would love for them to cater to the customer 100% of the time, but the shareholders are the ones that kind of make the votes and control the purse strings to some extent, or can tank your stock and make your purse strings extra light real quick if you don't cater to them in some way or shape or form. So on the business end of things, it is what it is with some of the stuff that they've had to do. But in the grand scheme of things, I think moving forward, especially with talking about having it where you have access to Steam or Epic games that you may have purchased or that you may want to purchase, like the whole thing with early access stuff. Like I've said this on other podcasts, like the big reason why I decided to go and build a PC was for modding games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and for the early access stuff of games that will, if they ever come to console, take years to come to console, like Ready or Not, like the best competition for something like a Rainbow Six Siege, and there's no date in the near future for it coming to console. It's a game worth playing on PC. That's worthwhile. Undisputed, we've been asking for a fight night for years. EA just either doesn't want to bother with licensing, or they'll wait until the last minute to see how it does when that smaller team brings it to console. But that's at least a year off or so. I wanted to dive into that now, and there's plenty of other ones like 6 Days of Fallujah. Like that's probably not coming to console for a year or two. They're still working on the AI companions, but if you want to do like co-op, oh, it's an awesome game. But yeah, I see that as the ultimate future that things are kind of moving to. And I know a lot of people may be a little uncomfortable with it or may not quite understand that type of move. But if you have your Xbox and you enjoy your Xbox currently, nothing really changes for you other than now you will get more access to more games from other places. Now, if Microsoft gets a cut of that through Steam or a cut of that through Epic, good on them. If they look like the good guys as far as opening up their platform to have more people in there, then hopefully that'll bring more people to the platform, knowing that, well, wherever you buy games, you can play them on one box. And I joked about this before. It's like they almost should have saved the Xbox One name for this next generation, if that's going to be the case where you can have Steam or Epic there, because it's the one box you need, or the only box you'll need to play any game at that point, especially if, PlayStation eventually goes the full slate with PC. Yeah. But yeah, I these opinion pieces, somebody DM'd me about it earlier and was like, what do you think? And I'm like, it's I wouldn't say it's clickbait, but it is for these dying websites, these dying news websites, because places like us or even bigger podcasts out there are eating their lunch at this time. And yeah, these companies still make a lot of money, but they're still paying all these other people a lot of money as well. So if you can bring fans from both sides of the argument over there to at least look at the webpage, they're collecting like 0.5 of a cent or 0.6 of a cent for everybody that clicks on the page for every ad that's on that page. So if they can get 1,000 people there, that's a couple $100. If they can get a couple 100,000 people there, that's a lot more money. So it definitely helps them having these clickbait type articles and things to keep them afloat. But it is what it is. They're going to continue doing it as long as people keep on paying attention to it. I try to block or ignore it as best I can, but if I'm going to speak on it, I'm going to speak on it in the sense from my old business format. I used to be an advertiser on forums for automotive stuff. So I know if I'm trying to get my brand out there in front of people's eyes that might be, interested in it. Yeah, I do Jeep stuff, but I might be on the Bronco forum because Jeep owners are going to be on the Bronco forum saying, well, Jeep is still better than Bronco. And new Bronco owners are going to be like, the Bronco is better than the Jeep. But I know I'm going to get eyes on it as far as, oh, well, you can see what a customized Jeep looks like. Yeah, maybe you'll come to my site. These websites are doing the same thing as far as whatever advertisers are on there, they're willing to pay them money for getting eyes on the product or eyes on their ad. And that's called an impression, and impressions pay these websites. And that's what keeps the lights on. So just keep that in mind when clicking on some of these, FUD stories is about the best way to put it.
There you go. PTK. You've heard the thoughts, man. You got anything more to add? Obviously, you kind of get the gist of the article, man. What's going on?
I mean, I think you guys have said everything that absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it's ridiculous. I think you've all made phenomenal points. This is stuff you can easily go Google. The information is not secretive. You don't need level 10 clearance to find any of this stuff. You can go check Phil's resume. You can go check his history. He's always been the right guy for this job, and it's been made more than clear at many different times throughout his tenure that he's more than capable of doing the job that they set out for him. They've promoted him multiple times in the middle of all the bullshit you guys are talking about.
Yep.
So these companies, you think a company like Microsoft like is going to promote him if he's not navigating this treacherous video game industry, if he's not doing a good job at that? You think they're going to continue to elevate him like they have? You think they're going to invite Xbox and make it a pillar? They have a seat at the table now. This is Microsoft. This isn't some small company. This is a multi-trillion-dollar. Hell, I mean, the highest evaluated company on planet Earth at one point.
Yep.
For a short period of time, it was.
Yes.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Yep.
This is a company that, like you said, go back and check your documentary. You almost nobody would have ever thought little old Xbox, just a passion project, would ever get to the level that it's currently at. Go watch the documentary. It's there. These guys were doing damn near illegal shit just to trying to get in the room with other parts of Microsoft. They were kicking down doors just to get in the room. You know, meetings, all these types of things. And Phil have taken that same group, not giving him credit for that, but taking that level of passion and turning it into a pillar of Microsoft, making more money than the Windows team. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous and it's asinine. And Phil, like you said, Phil only gets that because he's opened himself up and made himself available to that. Whereas other CEOs would never, ever do that.
It's because it's Xbox. That's why.
It is.
I mean, I don't care if people want to admit that or not. If people are living in this fantasy world or whatever, and it is Xbox's fault, 1000%. I'm not going to place the blame. I'm not going to take the onus for a company. I'll never do that. But in my experience as a gamer, what I have seen, the brand power lies in Sony. There's been document. We talked about these things for 2 years when this deal was going through because we were finding out information that Sony was purposely cutting other players out of the market, specifically Microsoft, because they're competing against each other. They're the only two. And if Xbox changes the conversation, I mean, what can you say to somebody that now is just doing what they've always done? Now we're making their hardware available. It already has Windows on it. So what do you mean? What do you mean this is a monopoly? This is my ecosystem.
Still, the crazy thing is that this is what everybody asked Xbox to do. Like y'all, like
different.
This is what it's
not like this.
It's crazy.
With games.
Not like this.
It's crazy to me that this is people. Oh well, Xbox. You know they're not very good at doing this. They can't make these type of games, and they really need to compete, and they need to learn how to. They need to spend money and open up. This is what they're doing. They had to find another way again. Once again, they had to find another way to get their foot in the door or to try and carve out a niche. They've done it multiple times. It's not the last time you ever heard of a thing called Xbox Live.
Hey,
that changed the game, didn't it? Didn't they? It
definitely did.
Themselves from PlayStation, from Nintendo,
consistently, actually.
I mean, come on now.
But they don't get credit for the innovation, right? Again, we know that innovation brings a lot of failure. And there's a long laundry list of failures, but they don't ever even get credit for the stuff that they hit on, right? And again, this could be the time where they are on the right path. Things are changing very, very fast, and people don't want to open their eyes to where tech is going right now. I made mention of this morning on Living Split Screen, and kind of broke this morning. There was an article, and I don't know how many people picked up on it because it wasn't specifically gaming, but everybody knows that Microsoft has a partnership with OpenAI. They announced today, there's talk that they're going to open up up to $100 billion AI supercomputer that's called Stargate. That's going to have millions of AI chips in it. Okay, listen, this is transformative tech here. Okay. This is stuff that's going to affect all of us in varying degrees and varying ways, but we could be on the cusp of another internet revolution with AI, right? Whether it's good or bad for humanity, that's a different discussion. But the fact is, that is what Microsoft Corporation is doing. Xbox is a big part of that because that's how Phil convinced Satya. One of the ways he convinced Satya was that the gaming division was going to be able to promote and help push forward some of the tech. Back then, it was Azure servers. Now you combine Azure servers with the AI tech that Microsoft themselves is developing in partnership with OpenAI, and they're producing their own chips now. That's their plans going forward. And we all know that potentially the next gen console could have an AI, an actual real AI learning chip, not just machine learning, but on another level, an adaptable AI chip in it. And then you're talking about opening up a massive supercomputer that could change things linked to the cloud with Azure. Listen, we're in the midst of what could be a revolution, right? And that's why you got to think bigger sometimes about what this could mean for this industry, because Xbox is a pillar now of Microsoft Corp. So they're going to be involved in this stuff, and the tech that we get in our gaming systems could be, even the next gen, could be advancements. That's why Sarah Bond was saying we're looking towards the biggest generational leap tech-wise that we've ever experienced in the video game space. If that's what they're looking to do, then everything we're thinking about could be very insignificant compared to what we see next gen. And again, the hybrid system bringing us closer to PC, we could be talking an evolution in the home PC market.
Yep.
And the console itself, the box that Xbox makes, could bridge that gap for a lot of people with the convenience factor. And that cannot be understated. So just saying.
Okay,
I
want to ask you guys this question, and PTK. Yes. I know we're making your show go long.
No, you're good.
I want to ask you this: consoles have always innovated over the years, and PC has always kind of been its own thing. Sure, there's been games that have went back and forth, but because of consoles innovation, and they're trying to figure out different ways to put the hardware in the box and give it such a amount of power, and it be power efficient, and all these good things, and have good games on their quality. At the point that we're at now with gaming, if the two boxes, and I pose this question to Paul all the time, I say it on Live Split Screen, if the two boxes are already so similar that the only thing that is separating them is something that they sold us on that isn't even scientifically different from one another. Honestly, it's two different methods for doing the exact same thing, and they're not even faster than each other, really. And it's velocity, architecture, and the Kraken. If there's nothing else that is different, then what other direction do we have to go? If gaming is going to evolve like it always has, or unless they're just going to become phones. But now look at your phone. On my Samsung Note 20 right now, I have the last note that they have ever made, right? Because I love the note. But anyway, I can make this into a computer right now. The USB-C to HDMI, and I put it in Samsung DeX. That's something that a lot of Samsung owners have, actually, that they don't know about. You literally have an Android, a Chromebook, essentially, on your phone. So what is next? Resident Evil runs on iPhone. Sure, it's 15 frames, but 15 is better than 0. Yeah. It not booting at all. And it's, there is so many things that are pointing out that the only evolution is Xbox going handheld, because Nintendo has proven that works, and we are becoming a society that is on the move and needs more digital products in our hands, because that's what gets our attention. I don't care how people feel. The TV and movie industry is not what's going to continue to be a good form of entertainment for people. Gaming is already number one. Is that just going to change all of a sudden? Or are we going to evolve along with it? Is it just about the box that you're playing, or is it about the games that you've been talking about?
That's the question.
And if one box gives you more value than another, brand power or not, if that is something that is possible, how is that bad for you? They're not going away. They're telling you they're delivering more hardware, so we're just going to ignore the things that they're saying? But we listen to the other side? Yeah, that's the only thing that bothers me. Yeah. So I
agree with you.
oppose that though. What do we do with that?
1,000% on that one. Like that's always gonna be, and this is why I don't always. I wish you guys can see all the saved tweets I have. Like I wish I could show you guys the ones that I start writing, and then like fuck it, I'm gonna just save it. Right? Like so,
Yeah.
because it would be a lot of the shit we're talking about, because I just don't like buy into all of that, man. Like it's not listen. Like we've been in video, we've done this gaming thing for a very long time. I'd like to think the audience listening to the Shop podcast and the panel members that are currently here, the ones that have been previous on the show, a lot of them are, have been gamers for a very long time, probably 15, 20 plus years. If you had to average out the guests on this show, it's probably double digits, I would say, more than likely, right? So we've gone through drastic changes in gaming. Gaming constantly changes all the time. Like if you're going to exist in this space, no matter what box you play on, right, despite whatever names on it, you have to be prepared for change. Because not everything stays the same. From one generation to the next, things can change dramatically. Sometimes not very much. Sometimes overnight, it's like boom. Like where did this come from? Now I got to pivot. You have to be versatile if you're going to exist in this space. Because if you just sit here in gaming and think that things are always going to be the same, things are going to stay. That's not going to happen. You have to be versatile. You got to be agile. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to, okay, well, this isn't exactly how I want it to go, but what other options do I have at this point? Because there usually are other options, right? That's the cool thing about gaming. And I'm glad you brought that up, Steel, is that there's generally other options, right? Like that we can fall back on. It's not like a lot of other entertainment mediums where you there's maybe one or two options and that's it. Usually you have multiple different options in the gaming space. So I always get weird about those things still, because like you said, like you can't talk about one while they're actively doing the other. Right? Like they're actively, these things are happening. There's new hardware, new games. Like, what am I supposed to do with all that good stuff? Like, just act like it doesn't exist? Act like they're not doing these things? So I'm with you on that.
If they say that they're doing them, I don't know. That's just my thought process on it. Again, I've always been a multi-sided gamer to it, and I get console hardware, and I still want them to innovate, which is why I want this, because this would be innovation. This is something that people try to create all the time. There's already these things that exist. You can go order a console PC thing off of Amazon that's already pre-set up for you. Now, is that what I'm going to recommend to you? No, because you do not understand what you're buying. Though it is there and it's available and you can understand. But it is going to cost you upwards of $1,000, and you have these Steam Decks, these ROG Allies, these other devices that all of a sudden are right around 6, 4. What do we do? Like, what are we talking about?
A price drop to 4, yeah.
What are we talking about? I mean, that's me looking forward. Again, I might be completely off base and whatever else the case, but I am one of those dudes. I have a PC. Most people would say, why do you have an Xbox Series X then? Because they're both not one thing yet. Yeah. And I love my Xbox.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
no facts. Facts. Let me get to these super chats real quick. I want to make sure I get to these real quick. I'm sorry I'm getting to them late. The conversation gets so good sometimes. But first super chat wasn't super chat. Adidas 20 member for 6 months. Appreciate you, Adidas. And he followed that up with a $5 super chat saying, I'm here. Appreciate you as well, Adidas. We got another super chat from Spartan 661 $4.99. Thank you so much. He said, I love to play as Rogue if she is like Shang Tsung and can duplicate other characters' powers in the game. That would be cool as fuck, because that's realistic. Cool. Yes. That's canon. She really can do that if you didn't know that. Another $4.99 chat from Spartan 661 again. He said, Xbox make a Killer Instinct-like game with Marvel characters, X-Men, Fantasy 4, Avengers, and so on.
Heck yeah.
Great idea. Once again, we're giving out $1 trillion ideas. This is what we do here at the Shop.
Common sense is out the window in this industry sometimes, man. It just doesn't make sense why these
then we got another. No, you're good. Then we got another $2 super chat from Splendiferous. Shout out to Splen, always coming through. He said, "How serious is Sony getting How serious is Sony getting our multiplayer game?" So
right.
Lots of questions.
Right. How about Foam Stars? Anybody heard anything about that?
Nah,
that thing died faster than Destruction All Stars.
Yeah,
you know what's crazy about that? I would have liked to play it on PC, try it out, see what it was like. I've never played Splatoon.
Square said no way. They said Square said buy a PS5 if you want that. So
smart decision,
man.
yeah.
The game is
We're-
doing really
More
good.
smart decision.
Phenomenal.
good.
But
Mhm.
I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up on that note, chat. Man, it's been amazing, phenomenal show. It's one of the longer shows we've done, but conversation was so good. We had to do it, chat. We had to do it. But I appreciate every single one of you guys. And before we go around our panel, once again, hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. We do this every single week, man. I appreciate you guys so much. I cannot say that enough. All of that information is down in the description below as well. And shout out to everybody coming out too. Saw some new faces, bunch of familiar people. You guys are fucking all awesome. But let me go ahead and get to my compatriots here, my guys. We'll start with you, Steel. Appreciate you coming through, man. Shout out that bat signal late, but you came through. Always great talk, man. Had a living screen 2.0. You know, living split screen 2.0 tonight. Little long one, but it was always good, brother.
Hey man, I appreciate you for just reaching out. I was about to log into some Dragon's Dogma, right, man. I was about to go on my adventure and just get lost in that
good,
world.
brother.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a game to play, I would just say overall, get back to the essence of. I had somebody remind me of this today. I forgot exactly who, but when you're getting in these games, enjoy it for what it is. Nobody has to be in a rush. I get everybody wants to talk about the newest games that are out, but we have so many things to enjoy, play, and get into. Just enjoy a game and enjoy the hobby and keep it live, raw, and uncut, like I like to say. Other than that, you can find me, Steel Rain. That's Steel Rain. That T is a 7 everywhere. Google's the easiest place. Living split screen Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time. Home of that RTS perspective as we do. And it's a non-console centric platform. So come in, tune in. And then also on Tuesdays, Xbox Factor podcast. Everything good that's green. Get that from Pong. And yes, big ups to my guy Boom. Almost said Poon. Whoa.
Poontang. Let's go.
Poontang. Yes, sir. He knows about it. Oh, see, that's why I'm my guy. But anyway, yeah. Xbox Factor Podcast. Come check me out with Boom, Mr. Boomstick XL. Everything green, good Xbox, good conversations mainly. And yeah, man, PTK again, appreciate you for having me on. And hopefully everybody in the chat loved it as well. Much love to the conversations.
Always. And just slide in the home plate here. Another Spartan 661. Thanks for all the best conversations. Appreciate you, bro. Member for 1 month. So appreciate you, bro, for becoming a member as well, too, on the channel, man. Thank you so much. But shout out to you, Steel, brother. Always coming through, man. Can always count on Steel, man. Mr. Reliable. Appreciate you, brother. And you guys go do me a favor. Go check out Steel, Living Split Screen. Go watch Steel. Did the live streams as well, too. Please go support. Super entertaining is there, too. But appreciate you still always coming through, man. And so we got one half down of the Living Split Screen. We got to get the other half for sure. Mr. Pong Soul, man. This is one of the I mean, we always have great shows, but I love when we really get into the conversation. And this is one of those shows where we did. So I appreciate you, brother. Always coming through, but let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, man, I was all warmed up from this morning. Hey, OG TK Cole, great to see you in the chat, brother, by the way. Listen, yeah, I was all warmed up from this morning, 5 hours with my brother this morning. So this was just, again, nice little chill 2.5 hours extra. So 7.5 hours total with my brother.
Well, work shift today, huh?
Yeah, man, just under an 8-hour shift. Let's go. Yeah. But no, man, a great way to end my Saturday night, and obviously getting together with you, Blam, and of course Fuzzy, and sitting down and talking this stuff. It is the greatest way to end my Saturday night, my podcasting week, right here with you guys. I'm gonna go get some gaming in now, and chat. You guys are absolutely incredible. Again, coming out, supporting all the shows that you do. Love to see all the familiar faces, all the new faces dropping in here. Hope you enjoyed it. This is what we do here on Saturday nights. Normally not 2.5. Normally it's a really cut and dry 2 hours. But again, like PTK said, with Steel in here and having some really good conversations about some big topics this week, sometimes you got to go a little bit longer. So thank you all for being here. Nothing but love and respect to all of you for being a part of the shows as much as we are on panel, because without you guys, these shows ain't nothing. So again, thank you for being here. But you guys know the drill by now. Pong Soul on X, formerly known as Twitter, Pong Soul on Xbox, Pong Soul on Steam. Follow me, I'll follow you back. Otherwise, you know where to catch me. But first, it starts off, I always promote it. Steel just did it, but I have always been doing this because Double Barrel Gaming is a channel. Mr. Boomstick's the man. He's been a big contributor to this entire community 5 days a week, but Tuesdays, Xbox Factor podcast, all good things green every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. And now with the added bonus of Steel being on panel, you got to be there for that. Always has great conversations on Tuesdays. And then my podcasting week starts Thursdays, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM over on the Fun Speculation channel. The Fun Speculation Network is rolling, and Mav and I get it started. Two-man show. Sometimes we do have guests from time to time, but most of the time it is a two-man show. But Mav and I catch up and just talk a lot of the news, get the chat involved. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time on Thursdays. Be there for that. And then back on the Fun Speculation Network Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate, where the rest of the family gets together and we continue those conversations and get other people's perspectives involved. It's an awesome time on Friday nights. Lots of laughs, lots of good talk. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, Xbox Ultimate over on the Fun Speculation Network. And then Steel and I, we get rolling live, raw, and uncut. We bring the energy to you Saturday mornings, living split screen. Split screen is all one word, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 4+ hours. It doesn't matter how little news there has been. Steel and I just find a way where we're just gabbing along. Today it was 5 hours. So join us every Saturday morning, whether you join us for the whole show or you just pop in and say hi, please do so. Living Split Screen Saturdays mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Be there for that. And then God willing, I'll be back here for another episode of the Amazing Shop Podcast with two of my brothers, PTK, Blam, and Fuzzy. Listen, y'all, it's the golden age of gaming. Get out there, please. Even if it's not Dragon's Dogma 2, go enjoy whatever you're enjoying. There's thousands of games right now to play. Play what you love what you played. I'll talk to y'all real soon. Thanks again, PTK.
Appreciate you, man. Once again, the easiest way to keep up with Pong is going to be just go follow that Twitter X account. Keep up with him. Appreciate you, Pong, every single week, bringing that energy, man. Love having you here. Like I said before, man, you are the Duracell battery of the Shop Podcast, bro. Always bringing that energy, man. So thank you as well, man. And last but not least, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, another great show, brother. You know, sometimes we just get on a roll and just one of the longer shows we've had in a while, but it was a good one, man.
No, keep the conversation going. It was awesome. Always love when we have Steel on here. Love his perspectives on things. Always love doing these podcasts with you guys. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Love when you guys interact with us. Questions you guys pose and, you know, some of the stuff you chat back and forth in the chat. Always love having you guys here. For new faces, thank you for taking the time to check us out. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. And for those that want to hear my endless rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app, formerly known as Twitter, at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Pixelated Echoes tomorrow at 8 p.m. with 3-Bit. And I think we're going to have Kay Asante and Mav on tomorrow as well.
Oh, damn, I thought it was Diddy. What the fuck?
No Diddy. No, but check us out tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do a search in YouTube for Pixelated Echoes, and you should be able to find the channel. And then Monday, 12 noon for Xbox Lunch Break Special, Mr. Boomstick on Double Barrel Gaming. Always check us out. Try to get the scoop on the early news for the week and go over some of the topics that, you know, may have come out like over the weekend or on Friday and carry over through the weekend. And then later on that night, FSP on Fun Speculation Network at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Basically, it's a, you know, all platform based podcast, but we mainly focus on our favorite or preferred platform, which either leans to Xbox or PC for the most part. And then look forward to seeing you guys hopefully back here next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, same place, same channel. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, Fuzz. Always coming through once again, man. Always bringing that smoothness, man. The easiest way to go follow Fuzz, once again, is on that Twitter account, man. So appreciate you always bringing that smoothness, Fuzz. And last but not least, the host here of the Shop Podcast, your boy PTK Blam, across the board, man. Hit me on Twitter. If you want to play some games, hit me on Xbox Live at PTK Blam as well, too. And once again, just appreciate you guys, every single one of you coming out, watching the show, man. Damn the algorithm. I just love having you guys here. It does not matter about any of that, those metrics or any of that crap. I just appreciate you guys just coming out and just the energy you guys give to this show and the dedication is enough for me, man. But we'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. once again, Pong, go play some goddamn games.
Mhm.
Like he said,
Absolutely.
man. Enjoy. There's more to play now than ever. Don't forget
Yeah.
that. Do not forget why you're here. Don't get lost in the sauce. But we're gonna get out of here, people. Enjoy your weekend, and we are out, man. Have a good one, everyone.
Later.